1. Deep state. Source: ChatGPT. The term deep state generally refers to an opaque, unidentifiable, and not publicly elected network or institution of government that manipulates or influences policy and decision-making, often without direct oversight by the people or the formal government. This concept is often used in political conspiracy theories, especially when critics argue that such deep structures run counter to the workings of democratic governments. The term originated in Turkey and refers to a shadow government of military, intelligence and political elites to protect national interests and preserve existing power structures. In recent years, especially in some Western countries, the term deep state has often been used to explain the power to influence policy and mobilize resources without the public's knowledge, especially those with strong ties to the top of government, economic elites, or multinational corporations. Source: Wikipedia. Deep state refers to a group that is not elected but is composed of government bureaucrats, civil servants, military-industrial complexes, financial industries, conglomerates, and intelligence agencies that actually control the country behind the scenes in order to protect their vested interests. The etymology comes from the Turkish word derin devlet, which refers to a secret political society that existed before the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Later cited by conspiracy theorists, it refers to the state within the state, the government within the government. Early researchers described shadow government as sometimes synonymous with a New World Order. In recent years, it has become a political term in the United States, meaning the real authority behind the federal government in the United States. While the composition of the deep state varies from country to country, they are more or less concentrated in the term military-industrial complex coined by former U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, and intelligence agencies are critical to their operations. The University of Oxford defines the deep state as an influential group of people in government agencies, the military, financiers, or bankers who do exist, secretly manipulate or control the government's domestic and foreign policies. The deep state is like the dark web and requires special authorization to enter and browse. They consist of the following. The country's main intelligence organs. Senior politicians are hidden decision-makers who evade the scrutiny of the business media through various means and decisions, and many politicians are also regulated by them. Some senior or long-term unelected officials within the government, e.g., senior civil servants. Individuals who have the right to control major commercial, military, or criminal groups, defense industry, counterterrorism industry, state financial sector, corporate media. 2. The deep state of the whole world. Source: ChatGPT. The concept of the deep state of the whole world involves a hypothetical shadow network on a global scale, with undisclosed forces that control or manipulate the policies, economics, military, and social structures of governments. The idea often comes from conspiracy theories that a group of multinational entrepreneurs, political elites, financiers, secret organizations, or global institutions, e.g., the United Nations, the World Bank, etc., are behind the global affairs. In this theory, these so-called deep states are not elected or supervised by ordinary people, but influence global events through non-public agreements and interests, and even exert decisive influence on major international policies, wars, financial crises, etc. This concept often comes up when discussing topics such as globalization, capitalism, tech giants, etc., especially when it comes to the concentration of power and inequality. Proponents of this theory argue that the so-called deep state or shadow forces may include international organizations and consortia with enormous economic and political clout that can drive specific agendas behind them, whether they are multinational corporations, central banks, or other international institutions. For example, organizations like the Illuminati, Freemasons, or the international bankers are often accused of playing a significant role in certain conspiracy theories. Source: Wikipedia. The New World Order, sometimes written as NWO, is a conspiracy theory about totalitarian world governments. This series of conspiracy theories argues that the world's secret cliques, shadow governments, and their conspiratorial globalist agendas are manipulating the world behind the scenes, with the ultimate goal of establishing an authoritarian world government to replace the current system of sovereign states or nation-states to rule the world, a project called the New World Order. The establishment of a new ideology through an all-encompassing propaganda campaign to convince humanity that the formation of a government of the New World Order is the progress of history. As a result, many influential historical and contemporary figures, identified by the theory as manipulating important political and financial events and exposing the global financial system to systemic risk, through a number of front agencies, are considered by the theory as a conspiracy to gradually achieve world domination. Prior to the 1990s, New World Order conspiracy theories were confined to two: American anti-colonialism, the Patriot movement, and the Christian fundamentalist movement about the end of the world and the Antichrist. Skeptics such as Mike Bakken and Chip Berlet have observed that the political philosophies advocated by right-wing populism, such as anti-New World Order, anti-elitism, and rejection of existing political consensus, have not only been embraced by many intellectuals, but have also permeated popular culture. At the end of the 20th century, the theory became more prevalent among the people in the context of millennialism and people's active preparation for the end of the world. In 2013, according to a telephone survey conducted by the Public Policy Polling Foundation, nearly one-third of Americans believed that there was a covered power elite group pushing a global agenda and the veracity of the New World Order conspiracy theory. 3. The theory of belief in opposition of the deep government. Source: ChatGPT. There are two main points of view regarding the theory of the deep state, those who believe in this theory and those who oppose it. The divergence between these views lies primarily in how to view the workings of global and national power structures, the distribution of political influence, and the transparency of information. Here's a closer look at the two aspects. Believe in the views of deep state theory. Global elite control. Many proponents argue that the deep state is a network of global elites that transcends national borders and controls international financial, political, economic, and military institutions. These elites include senior executives of multinational corporations, bankers, government officials, members of international organizations, members of secret societies, etc. Proponents argue that these forces, through behind-the-scenes deals and agreements, manipulate policies, influence relations between countries, and even dominate conflicts and financial crises around the world. Concentration of power and globalization. Believers in the deep state believe that as the process of globalization deepens, power in the world is gradually concentrated in the hands of a few, and the voice of the people becomes weaker. Political decision-making is becoming less and less transparent, and popular control over government is gradually losing its effectiveness. The deep state, as the representative of this centralized power, usually does not accept democratic oversight, but decides the direction of the world according to its own interests. Manipulating media and information. Proponents of this theory argue that the deep state influences public perception of certain events by controlling the media, information, and public opinion. For example, they may dominate the perspective of media coverage when a major social event or war breaks out, concealing the truth, or even creating false narratives. Historical background and illustrations. For example, many people who believe in this theory will refer to historical events such as the assassination of President Kennedy, 9/11, the financial crisis, etc., arguing that there are hidden political and economic motives behind these events, in which the deep state may have played a key role. Arguments against the theory of the deep state. Conspiracy theories and lack of evidence. Opponents argue that deep state theories lack hard evidence and are often based on speculation and opaque information, overinterpreting complex international affairs. Many times, there are multiple reasons behind political and economic events, and the assumptions of the deep state tend to ignore the complexities of ordinary political games and conflicts. The function of democracy. Opponents emphasize that despite the problems with globalization and the power structures of modern society, democracy itself can serve as an effective oversight. Institutional arrangements such as elections, freedom of the press, and an independent judiciary can ensure that power is not fully centralized. Even if there is opaque political activity, it cannot simply be attributed to the manipulation of a so-called deep state. There is no single source of power. Opponents of the theory argue that global power is not dominated by a few groups or elites, but is made up of many countries, international organizations, private companies, and social groups. The game of political power is complex and multi-layered, and there is no single deep state that controls everything. For example, multilateral cooperation in international relations, the interests of various countries, and public participation often lead to diversity and uncertainty in political decision-making. Social change and technological progress. Many opponents argue that globalization and technological progress have made information and power more transparent, and that no single power can effectively control global affairs for a long time. The internet, social media, and open data have enabled people to participate in the political process and expose corruption and abuses. As a result, the existential theories of the deep state tend to ignore the openness and complexity of modern society. Historical misunderstandings and popular discontent. Opponents argue that deep state theories are often formed in the context of economic inequality, social injustice, war, and other phenomena, and that many adherents blame complex social problems on an unknown behind-the-scenes manipulator, ignoring the multidimensional nature of these problems. Many events in history may have more objective factors than just the role of some mysterious force. 4. Rusiagate. Source: ChatGPT. Russiagate refers to the alleged interference of Russia in the U.S. election during the 2016 U.S. presidential election and the subsequent investigation and controversy. The incident involved the Russian government's alleged interference in the U.S. election through cyber attacks, social media propaganda, information manipulation, and other means to support Trump's presidential candidacy, and also sparked a widespread investigation into whether there were improper ties between Trump's team and Russia. Background to the event. During the 2016 U.S. presidential election, Russia was accused of interfering in U.S. elections through a range of means, including hacking. The Russian hacking group GRU is believed to have hacked the Democratic National Committee, DNC, system in the United States, stealing large amounts of emails and sensitive data and leaking them to WikiLeaks. Social media interference. Through the Internet Research Agency, IRA, the Russian government spreads disinformation on social media, creating division, inciting antagonism, and even supporting Trump's campaign. Election infrastructure attacks. There have been reports that Russia has also attempted to interfere with U.S. election infrastructure, which while not directly impacting voting results, has heightened concerns about election security. Investigations and disputes. The U.S. government conducted an extensive investigation into the incident, largely led by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Mueller's investigation focused on whether the Trump campaign had improper ties to the Russian government and whether there was complicity or obstruction of justice. Mueller report. After 2 years of investigation, in 2019, Mueller published the report with the following main conclusions. Russian interference conclusive. The report confirms that Russia did interfere in the 2016 election, using cyber attacks and social media campaigns in support of Trump. No complicity. Mueller did not find sufficient evidence that the Trump campaign had a direct complicity with the Russian government to influence the outcome of the election. Obstruction of justice. The report does not make a clear conclusion on whether it constitutes obstruction of justice, but notes that Trump's conduct in handling the investigation may constitute obstruction. Trump response. Trump has firmly denied having improper ties to Russia and called the entire Rusiagate investigation a witch hunt against him. He has also repeatedly criticized the Mueller investigation as a witch hunt. Aftermath. While the Mueller report failed to prove that there was clear complicity between Trump and Russia, the event still had a profound impact on the Trump administration and became an important political topic during his presidency. The debate between Democrats and Trump supporters around the incident continues. Repercussions and consequences. Political divisions. Rusiagate exacerbated the political divisions in American society, with supporters of Trump arguing that the incident was exaggerated as a political attack and opponents of Trump arguing that it was a misconduct on the part of him and his team. Election security and interference. The incident has also sparked widespread discussion about foreign interference in elections, with many experts and politicians calling for greater election security and protection of democratic institutions from external interference. Impact on Trump. Although Trump was not convicted after the Rusiagate investigation, the incident still left a deep mark on politics and history, becoming a landmark event during Trump's presidency. Source: Wikipedia. Trump's leaks to Russia are also part of the Rusiagate issue, with current and former U.S. government officials reporting that U.S. President Donald Trump met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and U.S. Ambassador Kislyak in the Oval Office on May 10, 2017, providing them with detailed information that could reveal the source of the intelligence and the means of obtaining it. The The day before the incident, FBI Director James Comey was fired by Trump without warning, which was the second time in the history of the United States that the FBI director was fired. The first was William Steele Sexton in 1993, and triggered the Russiagate scandal. The decision was seen as extremely rare, and the move was questioned as related to Mr. Comey's investigation into Russian interference in Trump's election process, which the Trump administration has denied. 5. U.S. Federal Government. Source: ChatGPT. The federal government of the United States is the highest government agency in the United States, responsible for managing the overall affairs of the country and sharing power with state governments. The United States adopts a federal system, which means that there is a clear distribution of power and mutual checks and balances between the federal government and the state governments. The federal government is made up of three main branches: the legislative, executive, and judicial. 1. Legislative branch, Congress. The U.S. Congress is the legislative arm of the federal government and is responsible for making and passing laws. The National Assembly consists of two chambers. Senate consists of 100 senators, with 2 senators elected from each state for a 6-year term. Senators' duties include approving senior officials appointed by the president, ratifying international treaties, and trying presidential impeachment cases. House of Representatives consists of 435 members of the House of Representatives, the number of whom is distributed proportionally to the population of each state, and each member of the House of Representatives serves a 2-year term. The House of Representatives is responsible for sponsoring budget and tax bills and has the power to impeach the president. The duties of Congress include making laws, approving budgets, overseeing executive branches, etc. 2. Executive branch, President, Executive. The executive branch, headed by the President, is the executive arm of the federal government, responsible for enforcing the laws passed by Congress and managing the affairs of the government. The President is the supreme head of state, head of government, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and leader of foreign affairs of the United States. The President's responsibilities include implementing and enforcing laws, ensuring that laws enacted by Congress are effectively enforced. Executive orders. The President may use executive orders to manage the affairs of the government. Appointing officials. The President has the authority to appoint members of the cabinet, such as the Secretary of State, Secretary of the Treasury, etc., federal judges and other senior government officials. Foreign affairs. The President represents the United States in diplomatic activities with other countries and signs treaties and agreements with foreign leaders. Military command. The President is the supreme commander of the U.S. military and is responsible for military decision-making. The President is elected for a term of 4 years and can be re-elected up to once, in accordance with the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. 3. Judicial branch, U.S. Supreme Court and Federal Court of Justice, Judicial. The branch of justice in the United States is responsible for interpreting and adjudicating laws, ensuring that all laws are in accordance with the U.S. Constitution. The Supreme Court is the highest adjudicating body of the federal court system, and its decisions are binding on all lower courts. The U.S. judicial system is based on a system of case law, common law, where courts interpret the application of the law by hearing cases. The duties of the Supreme Court include review of the constitutionality of laws. The Supreme Court has the power to determine whether laws and government actions are constitutional, a process known as judicial review. Resolving state disputes. The Supreme Court resolves major cases involving federal law, state-to-state disputes, and federal-state disputes. Judgment of important cases. Supreme Court decisions are often of historic significance and have long-term effects on U.S. law and society. The Supreme Court is made up of 9 judges, who are nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate. Once appointed, judges may serve for life. 4. Relationship between the federal government and the state government. The relationship between the federal government and state governments in the United States is defined by the Constitution. The federal government deals with matters such as defense, foreign affairs, trade, immigration, etc., while the state governments deal with matters that are more directly related to the lives of local people, such as education, public safety, transportation, etc. Constitutionally, the federal government has some exclusive powers, such as setting military policy and regulating interstate trade, while other powers not explicitly delegated to the federal government are administered by state governments. The power relationship between the state and federal governments can sometimes be controversial, especially in judicial cases concerning constitutional interpretation and division of powers. 5 other agencies of the federal government. The U.S. federal government also includes a number of independent agencies, commissions, and government departments that are responsible for the management of different areas. Here are some examples. Federal Reserve System, the Central Bank of the United States, which is responsible for setting monetary policy and regulating financial markets. Department of the Treasury, responsible for managing the federal government's financial and tax affairs, issuing currency, etc. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, responsible for investigating and handling federal crime cases in the country. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, responsible for gathering intelligence from abroad and conducting espionage. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, responsible for developing and enforcing environmental protection policies. These departments and agencies are established and function to ensure that the federal government can function effectively and carry out its responsibilities under the Constitution and law. Source: Wikipedia. U.S. Federal Government of the United States, U.S. Federal Government, is the central government of the United States, and the federal government is composed of 3 parts, the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch, and its powers are held by Congress, the President, and the federal courts, respectively, and are granted by the U.S. Constitution. The powers and duties of these branches are further defined by the laws of Congress, including the establishment of executive branches and courts subordinate to the Supreme Court. The federal government's departmental headquarters are located in Washington, D.C., with offices throughout the United States. 6. CIA. Source: ChatGPT. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, is an intelligence agency of the U.S. federal government that collects, analyzes, and disseminates intelligence information related to national security. The main mission of the CIA is to protect the national security of the United States through various intelligence means, to carry out the decisions of the President and the National Security Council, and especially to deal with intelligence work with foreign governments, organizations, and individuals. Background and mission of the CIA. The CIA was founded in 1947 as the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, an agency established during World War II to conduct espionage. In 1947, with the outbreak of the Cold War, the U.S. government decided to create a specialized intelligence agency to deal with international espionage and information gathering, and the CIA came into being. The CIA's mission can be summarized as provide intelligence support, provide intelligence to the U.S. President, National Security Council, and other senior officials on foreign affairs, military activities, economic conditions, and other potential threats. National security protection. Through intelligence collection and analysis, it helps the United States defend against potential external threats, especially in political, military, economic, and technological aspects. Intelligence analysis and evaluation. The CIA analyzes intelligence from all over the world and assesses its impact on U.S. interests and security. Covert operations. The CIA is also responsible for a number of covert operations and special missions related to intelligence gathering, particularly those that require covert diplomatic and military operations. Structure and organization of the CIA. The CIA is one of the core agencies of the U.S. intelligence community and is subordinate to the National Intelligence Agency under the leadership of the Director of National Intelligence, DNI. The CIA has a number of departments, each with its own responsibilities, covering all aspects of intelligence gathering, analysis, technical support, etc. Its main divisions include Directorate of Operations, DO. Responsible for conducting foreign intelligence gathering, espionage, counter-espionage operations, covert operations, etc. This division is the Covert Operations Division of the CIA, which performs a variety of covert missions including espionage and special missions against hostile countries. Directorate of Analysis, DA. It is responsible for analyzing, integrating, and generating intelligence reports on the collected intelligence to help decision-makers understand the complex international situation. The tasks of the Analytical Division include the analysis of information in the fields of global politics, economics, and military affairs, and the assessment of national security risks. Directorate of Science and Technology, DSNT. Provide technical support, including the development of advanced espionage equipment and information gathering tools, such as satellites, listening devices, encryption technology, etc. The department is also responsible for using technology to analyze the intelligence gathered to help the CIA obtain more accurate information. Directorate of Support, DS. Responsible for the management of CIA's logistics support, funding, administration and other management to ensure the normal operation of various departments. Cyber operations. With the rise of cyber warfare, the CIA has gradually increased its emphasis on cybersecurity and cyber attacks. The CIA also played an important role in information warfare and cyber espionage. CIA's responsibilities and actions. Overseas intelligence collection. The CIA's core mission is to gather intelligence overseas through a variety of channels, including espionage, signals intelligence, SIGINT, human intelligence, HUMINT, open source intelligence, OSINT, and more. The CIA also obtains information through its agencies and intelligence agents around the world. Counter-espionage. As one of the core agencies of counterintelligence, the CIA is not only focused on gathering foreign intelligence, but also committed to preventing and combating foreign espionage activities in the United States. This includes surveillance, exposing the espionage operations of hostile nations, and disrupting enemy spy networks. Covert operations. The CIA also undertakes a number of covert operations missions, which are often not made public, including supporting allies, interfering politically, obtaining sensitive information, and carrying out strikes against terrorists and extremist groups. Counterterrorism and combating transnational crime. At the beginning of the 21st century, especially in the aftermath of 9/11, the CIA's focus shifted to countering terrorism. Through its intelligence networks, partnerships, and direct operations, the CIA helps the U.S. government combat international threats such as terrorism, drug trafficking, transnational crime, and weapons proliferation. Cyber warfare and cyber espionage. With the development of information technology, the CIA has increased its focus on cyber attacks and cyber espionage. The CIA's cyber warfare missions include infiltrating enemy systems through the network, stealing sensitive information, implementing cyber defenses, and more. CIA controversy and criticism. Despite the CIA's important role in safeguarding national security, its actions are often accompanied by controversy. Critics argue that the CIA can sometimes go beyond the law, infringe on citizens' privacy rights, or perform illegal actions. Historically, the CIA has been involved in a number of high-profile incidents, including Cold War-era interventions, such as participation in the 1953 coup d'état that overthrew the Iranian government, Operation Ajax, and support for some military coups in Latin America. Waterboarding and torture. In the War on Terror, the CIA has used widely criticized enhanced interrogation techniques in a number of cases, including torture such as waterboarding. Surveillance and privacy concerns. Some CIA surveillance activities, such as surveillance and data collection, often raise public concerns about privacy and the overextension of government power. Source: Wikipedia. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, Chinese CIA, is one of the major intelligence agencies in the United States, whose main task is to openly and covertly collect and classify information on foreign governments, companies, and individuals in terms of politics, culture, science and technology, coordinate the activities of other domestic intelligence agencies, and share these intelligence reports with various departments of the United States government. It also possessed large quantities of special-purpose military weapons and equipment that were used during the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union to interfere with communist governments, such as the Soviet Union, and to finance organizations that overthrew foreign governments or assassinate opponents of threats to U.S. interests abroad, such as Arbenz in Guatemala and Allende in Chile. The CIA is headquartered in Langley, Virginia. The CIA is the only independent intelligence agency in the U.S. intelligence system, and its status and functions are the same as those of the British Secret Intelligence Service, MI6, the Soviet National Security Council, commonly known as the KGB, and the Israeli Intelligence Service, commonly known as the Mossad. 7. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Source: ChatGPT. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, is an important law enforcement agency of the U.S. federal government, under the U.S. Department of Justice, responsible for enforcing federal laws and conducting criminal investigations. The FBI's mission includes investigating criminal activity at the federal level, safeguarding national security, and carrying out counterterrorism and counterintelligence missions. It plays a vital role in law enforcement and intelligence gathering within the United States. Background and mission of the FBI. The FBI was founded in 1908 as the Bureau of Homeland Security, and its mission was to solve cases involving crimes across state lines. Over time, the FBI gradually expanded its functions to become a central agency dealing with a wide range of crime and national security issues. The main tasks of the FBI include investigating federal crimes. The FBI is responsible for investigating major crimes involving federal law, including, but not limited to, violent crimes, interstate crimes, fraud, drug smuggling, corruption, and more. Counterterrorism and national security. Since the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the FBI has made counterterrorism missions one of its primary functions, working to prevent terrorist attacks and activities that undermine national security. Counterintelligence and counterintelligence. The FBI plays a central role in counterintelligence activities, responsible for combating foreign espionage and countering domestic espionage. Cybercrime. The FBI is responsible for tracking and combating cybercrime, including hacking, cyber fraud, information theft, and more. Maintaining public safety, including participating in responding to large-scale public safety incidents, disaster response, providing law enforcement assistance, and more. Structure and organization of the FBI. The FBI's organizational structure includes multiple departments and units responsible for law enforcement in different areas. Its main organizational and functional functions include Counterterrorism Division. The department is responsible for preventing and combating terrorist activities, including terrorist organizations and terrorists at home and abroad. The Anti-Terrorist Unit monitors the activities of terrorists, conducts intelligence gathering, and, if necessary, conducts law enforcement operations. Counterintelligence Division. The division focuses on identifying, monitoring, and countering foreign espionage and preventing foreign forces from interfering with U.S. political, economic, and military activities. Criminal Investigation Division. Responsible for investigating all types of criminal cases, including interstate crimes, drug crimes, financial fraud, violent crimes, etc. The FBI plays a key role in investigating major criminal cases. Cyber Division. Specializes in cyber crime cases, including hacking, cyber fraud, data theft, and other cyber-related criminal activities. Intelligence Division. Responsible for analyzing and evaluating the intelligence gathered by the FBI, helping to identify threats and supporting decision-makers. Laboratory Division. Responsible for providing forensic scientific support, conducting evidence analysis, identification, and testing in criminal cases. Responsibilities and tasks of the FBI. The FBI's core responsibilities include investigating federal crimes. The FBI investigates cases in a wide range of areas, such as violent crimes, kidnapping, murder, robbery, etc., interstate fraud, financial crimes, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, drug smuggling, and more. The FBI serves as the primary law enforcement agency in these cases, particularly when multi-state or transnational criminal activity is involved. Counterterrorism Mission. Counterterrorism is one of the FBI's top priorities. Since 9/11, the FBI has continued to strengthen its counterterrorism capabilities, establishing a dedicated counterterrorism unit dedicated to tracking and combating terrorist organizations and their elements. The FBI relies not only on domestic information gathering, but also on cooperation with intelligence agencies in other countries to conduct surveillance of terrorist activities on a global scale. Counterintelligence and national security. The FBI is not only responsible for investigating internal espionage activities, but also collaborates with intelligence services of other countries to prevent foreign espionage and intelligence gathering activities. The work of counterintelligence services includes listening in, tracking potential spies, and identifying foreign infiltration and espionage. Cybercrime and information security. With the popularity of the Internet, the FBI sees cybercrime as a major challenge. It is responsible for combating cybercrimes such as hacking, cyber fraud, identity theft, data breaches, and more. The FBI also works with private companies and other government agencies to address cybersecurity threats. Federal Criminal Enforcement. The FBI provides federal criminal enforcement services to assist local law enforcement agencies in handling multi-state cases, especially when dealing with complex or interstate crimes, where the FBI plays a leading role. It also assists other law enforcement agencies in their criminal investigations by providing forensic scientific support and intelligence analysis. FBI Investigations and Enforcement Actions. The FBI employs a variety of methods and tools in its law enforcement efforts, including surveillance and surveillance. The FBI can conduct telephone surveillance, email surveillance, etc., through legal means, but this requires court authorization. Covert investigations. The FBI often conducts covert investigations, hiring undercover agents to go deep into criminal syndicates for intelligence gathering. Interstate cooperation. The FBI works closely with state and local law enforcement agencies to investigate complex multi-state crimes. Controversy and criticism. Although the FBI is one of the most important law enforcement agencies in the United States, it has also caused controversy over a number of cases or actions. For example, invasion of privacy and excessive surveillance. Some of the FBI's practices in the war on terrorism, such as mass surveillance of citizens' communications and data collection, have sparked controversy about privacy violations. Political interference. The FBI has been criticized for interfering excessively in political affairs during certain periods of history, particularly during the Cold War and anti-communist periods. For example, the FBI has monitored civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. and illegally monitored and interfered with many political activists and groups. Racial and religious bias. the FBI has been accused of unfair treatment of specific racial or religious groups in some cases, especially in counterterrorism investigations, where Muslim communities are often the subject of surveillance. Source: Wikipedia. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. The FBI or FBI is the intelligence and security agency of the United States and the main federal law enforcement agency of the United States. The FBI operates under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Department of Justice and is a member of the U.S. intelligence community, so it is accountable to both the Attorney General and the Director of National Intelligence. It is the nation's leading anti-terrorism, counterintelligence, and criminal investigation organization, with jurisdiction over more than 200 federal crimes. While many of the FBI's functions are unique, its activities in support of national security are on a par with Britain's MI5 and Russia's Federal Security Service. The CIA has no law enforcement authority and is focused on gathering intelligence from abroad. The FBI, on the other hand, is primarily a domestic agency, with 56 field offices in major U.S. cities and more than 400 permanent offices in smaller cities and regions across the country. In the FBI Sub-Bureau, senior FBI officials also serve as representatives to the Director of National Intelligence. Although its role is primarily focused on the United States, the FBI still has significant international influence. It has 60 legal attaché offices and 15 sub-offices at U.S. embassies and consulates abroad. These overseas offices are established primarily to maintain communication with the security services of the host country and do not normally engage in unilateral actions within the territory of the host country. The FBI can and sometimes does engage in certain covert activities overseas, just as the CIA's power in the United States is limited. These FBI activities often require cross-agency coordination. The FBI was founded in 1908 and was originally named the Bureau of Investigation. In 1935, it was renamed the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The headquarters of the FBI is located in the John Edgar Hoover Building in Washington, D.C. 8. NSA. Source: ChatGPT. The National Security Agency, NSA, is an intelligence and security agency of the U.S. federal government, which is mainly responsible for collecting and analyzing foreign communications and information, and is responsible for protecting the communications security of the U.S. government and military. Founded in 1952, the NSA is one of the intelligence agencies of the U.S. government, but unlike the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, the NSA's primary mission is to signal intelligence collection and information security, rather than traditional espionage or intelligence analysis. The mission and responsibilities of the NSA. The NSA's primary mission is to protect U.S. national security, ensure the security of U.S. government communications, and gather signals intelligence from around the globe. Its tasks include signals intelligence, SIGINT, collection. One of the core tasks of the NSA is to collect signals intelligence on foreign countries by various means. This information includes communications, electronic signals, internet activity, etc., of hostile countries. The NSA collects information by listening to radio communications, satellite communications, fiber optic networks, telephone systems, and other channels. The NSA uses a variety of advanced technologies around the globe to steal and intercept data, especially against communications of foreign governments, military agencies, and terrorist organizations. Information security and encryption. The NSA is also responsible for securing U.S. government communications, ensuring that all of its sensitive information is transmitted and stored securely. It is responsible for developing and implementing encryption technology to protect classified U.S. and national security information. The NSA's encryption technology and systems have a far-reaching impact on a global scale. It not only protects the communications of the U.S. government, but also provides encryption technology to other countries and organizations. Cybersecurity and defense. With the development of information technology, the NSA's responsibilities have also expanded to the field of cybersecurity, especially in defending against cyber attacks and protecting the U.S. network infrastructure and critical information systems. The NSA is responsible for detecting and preventing cyber attacks and malware from foreign countries. The NSA is one of the core forces of U.S. cyber warfare, and its cybersecurity unit, the National Security Agency Cybersecurity Directorate, focuses on protecting U.S. cyber attacks from cyber attacks. Counterterrorism and national security. The NSA plays an important role in America's counterterrorism strategy, especially in the aftermath of 9/11. The NSA helps identify terrorist activity and uncover potential terrorist attacks by listening to and analyzing communications data. The NSA cooperates with other intelligence agencies, such as the CIA and the FBI, to conduct global intelligence collection and analysis to prevent terrorist and espionage. Global intelligence monitoring and cooperation. The NSA is a member of the Five Eyes Alliance. The Five Eyes Alliance is an intelligence sharing network made up of the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand. The NSA shares global intelligence with the intelligence agencies of these countries and conducts intelligence collection and analysis on a global scale. The alliance's collaboration enables Five Eyes members to share intelligence resources to combat global terrorism, transnational crime, and espionage. Structure and organization of the NSA. The NSA has a complex organizational structure that spans multiple departments and functions. Its main segments include SIGINT, responsible for the collection and analysis of global signal intelligence. This includes monitoring radio communications, satellite communications, internet data, etc., on a global scale. The department uses high-tech equipment and computing power to eavesdrop and decrypt external communications. Information assurance, responsible for protecting the communications and data security of the U.S. government. It designs, implements, and maintains encryption technology to ensure that government information is not stolen by external malicious actors. The NSA provides cryptographic support to U.S. military, government agencies, and a number of important commercial organizations. Cybersecurity. Focus on protecting the U.S. government and critical infrastructure networks from cyber attacks. It is responsible for responding to cybersecurity incidents and addressing cyber intrusions, viruses, and malware. The NSA is also working with other federal agencies to improve the overall U.S. cybersecurity capabilities. Advanced Technology and R&D Department. The NSA continues to develop new technologies to enhance its signals intelligence gathering and information security capabilities. The department researches and utilizes advanced computer technology, encryption algorithms, data analysis techniques, and more to support its mission. Intelligence Analysis Department. Responsible for conducting in-depth analysis of signals intelligence collected and providing decision support to U.S. policymakers. NSA's actions and methods. The NSA uses a variety of technologies to achieve its intelligence gathering and information security missions. Interception and interception of communications. The NSA uses satellite surveillance, radio surveillance, fiber optic eavesdropping and other means to collect signal intelligence on a global scale. Its surveillance activities are not limited to military and government communications, but also include international business and personal communications. In the wake of 9/11, the NSA's surveillance activities expanded dramatically to include terrorist groups, transnational criminal groups, and other security threats. Network monitoring and analysis. The NSA conducts extensive monitoring of internet communications around the world, collecting and analyzing data such as email, social media, and web traffic. The NSA uses advanced data analytics tools to uncover potential security threats and intelligence targets. For example, the NSA's PRISM program, exposed after the Edward Snowden leak, allowed it to collect data from large internet companies, including communications records from Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and others. Encryption and decryption. The NSA is a world leader in the research and development of encryption technology. The encryption standards it developed are widely used in information protection around the world. The NSA is also responsible for cracking encryption techniques used by other countries or organizations to gather intelligence. The NSA's information assurance mission also includes providing strong encryption protection for the U.S. military and other government departments to prevent sensitive information from being stolen or leaked. Controversy and criticism from the NSA. The NSA's activities are often accompanied by widespread controversy, particularly with regard to privacy protections and government surveillance. The main disputes include mass surveillance. The NSA's surveillance programs, such as PRISM and XKeyscore, allow for mass surveillance of electronic communications on a global scale. This has sparked heated debates about the right to privacy, particularly whether the communications of citizens within the United States are subject to excessive surveillance. Edward Snowden exposed the NSA's mass surveillance program in 2013, exposing the NSA's extensive surveillance of global communications, which attracted global attention and criticism. Privacy violations. The NSA's surveillance activities involve a large amount of private information, including phone records, emails, social media activity, and more. This has raised concerns about invasion of personal privacy and excessive government surveillance. Some critics argue that the NSA's activities go beyond reasonable security needs and violate the fundamental rights of citizens. Lack of transparency. Because the work of the NSA is highly classified, it is difficult for the outside world to obtain transparent information about its specific actions and impacts. This lack of transparency and oversight raises concerns about abuses of power. Source: Wikipedia. The National Security Agency, NSA, is an intelligence department in the U.S. federal government, which is responsible for collecting and analyzing foreign and domestic communications data, and is subordinate to the U.S. Department of Defense and is established by order of the President of the United States. 9. U.S. Government Efficiency Division. Source: ChatGPT. Government efficiency agencies are generally those that work to improve the efficiency of government agencies, reduce waste, and optimize services. The tasks of these departments typically include overseeing government operations, improving processes, increasing fiscal transparency, and ensuring that public services are more efficient. There are several agencies and departments of the U.S. federal government that drive government efficiency in different areas, and here are some of the key departments and agencies that play an important role in promoting government efficiency and management improvements. 1. Government Accountability Office, GAO. Government Accountability Office, GAO. Responsibilities: the GAO is an independent agency within the U.S. Congress that oversees federal government spending and operations. The main functions of the GAO include auditing the financial status of government departments, inspecting the implementation of government projects, evaluating the efficiency and effectiveness of policies, and making recommendations for improvement. Objectives: the GAO's goal is to ensure the rational use of government funds, identify waste or corruption, and provide recommendations on how to improve government efficiency through audits and investigations. 2. U.S. Office of Management and Budget, OMB. Office of Management and Budget, OMB. Responsibilities: the OMB is part of the Office of the President of the United States and is the key department responsible for setting the federal budget, managing government finances, and promoting government efficiency. Its responsibilities include overseeing the budgets of various federal agencies, making recommendations to improve government efficiency, promoting administrative reforms, and implementing the President's policy goals. Objective: to ensure the proper allocation of financial resources and to promote federal government reform and efficiency by coordinating budgets and operations across government departments. 3. Federal Administrative Reform Commission, ACRA. Administrative Conference of the United States, ACUS. Responsibilities: ACUS is an independent federal agency dedicated to improving and reforming the administrative processes of the U.S. federal government. Its mission is to research and make recommendations that can improve the efficiency of government work and citizen services, and to promote government reform through a consultative process. Objectives: ACUS's goal is to promote the efficient operation of government services by increasing the transparency of administrative processes, simplifying government procedures, and reducing excessive government regulation. 4. CFO Council. Chief Financial Officers Council, CFOC. Responsibilities: the CFO Council is comprised of the chief financial officers of U.S. federal agencies and is dedicated to improving the efficiency of the federal government's financial management and budgeting. The CFOC promotes the implementation of best financial management practices, enhances financial transparency, and optimizes the use of government resources. Objective: to improve the efficiency of the use of government funds and ensure the health and transparency of public finances by harmonizing and standardizing financial management procedures. 5. Technology Innovation and Digital Transformation, GSA. General Services Administration, GSA. Responsibilities. The GSA is responsible for providing logistical support, technical services, procurement, and more to the federal government, and it drives government innovation in services, technology, and supply chain management. The GSA is also responsible for managing and enhancing the digital transformation of the federal government, ensuring that the government uses technology more effectively to improve efficiency. Goal: streamline government processes, improve the efficiency of government services, and reduce operational costs by driving digital transformation and technological innovation. 6. National Governance Reform Commission, NSC. National Governance Reform Commission. Responsibilities. The NSC is an agency in the United States that specializes in promoting government governance reform, focusing on the optimization of government structure, operation mode, and process, and proposing reform plans to improve government efficiency and public service quality. Objective: promote government administrative reform, improve the quality and efficiency of public services, and reduce government internal friction and ineffective administration. 7. Office for the Modernization of Government, OMB. Office of Management and Budget, OMB. Responsibilities. One of the tasks of this office is to modernize the federal government, streamline government processes, and integrate and coordinate cross-agency reform initiatives. OMB is also responsible for assessing the efficiency and management reform programs implemented by the government and monitoring the progress of the reforms. Objectives: to ensure the administrative efficiency of the federal government, reduce unnecessary bureaucratic procedures, and promote technological and managerial innovation to improve the quality of government services. 8. Office of Technological Reform and Innovation, TFA. Technology and Innovation Office, TFA. Responsibilities. TFA focuses on modernizing the U.S. federal government's technology infrastructure, particularly in the application of technologies such as cloud computing, big data, and artificial intelligence. It promotes technological innovation in the government in the field of management and services. Goal: passing advanced. To help governments improve work efficiency, reduce costs, and provide more personalized and convenient services. 9. Joint Reform Board, JCRB. Joint Commission on Reform of the Bureaucracy. Responsibilities. The JCRB is a U.S. committee that reviews government structures and processes. It assesses the efficiency of existing government structures, makes recommendations for improvements, and monitors the implementation of reform measures by government departments. Goal: optimize the government structure, reduce redundancy and inefficiency, and improve the execution of various government functions. Source: Wikipedia. The Department of Government Efficiency, abbreviation, DOGE, officially known as the Temporary Organization of DOGE Services in the United States, is a temporary organization under the DOGE service in the United States. Despite the department in its name, the Department of Government Efficiency is not a federal executive branch and requires the approval of the U.S. Congress. Its original purpose was to reduce wasteful spending and eliminate unnecessary red tape. However, according to the executive order establishing the office, its formal purpose is to modernize federal technology and software to maximize government efficiency and productivity. Further presidential executive orders are still likely to achieve these initial goals. The organization was announced by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump on November 12, 2024, in advance of his second presidential term. Its leader is entrepreneur Elon Musk. Vivek Ramaswamy will initially lead alongside Musk, but he has reportedly been excluded by Musk and other members of Trump's circle. The organization was established on January 20, 2025, by executive order of U.S. President Donald Trump. The Government Efficiency Department will have offices in the Eisenhower Administrative Office Building, which will employ approximately 20 people. The department's abbreviation comes from the online memes Doge and Dogecoin. On the night of Trump's decision to announce the launch, the value of Dogecoin, a cryptocurrency stemming from the online meme Doge, soared by nearly 20%. 10. Military-industrial complex. Source: ChatGPT. The military-industrial complex refers to an interconnected and interdependent network structure between military agencies, defense contractors, i.e., the military industry, and the government. The concept was first developed by U.S. President Dwight D. in his farewell address in January 1961. Dwight D. Eisenhower warned the American people to be wary of the effects of such structures, especially during the Cold War. Definition and background of the military-industrial complex. The term military-industrial complex describes the close relationship between the government and private military-industrial companies, especially in the process of research and development, production, and procurement of military equipment. These companies offer a range of products and services, including weapons systems, military technology, equipment, logistical support, and arms sales. The government is the most important customer of these companies, while the military is responsible for the procurement and use of these military products. Eisenhower's warning. In his farewell address, Eisenhower warned the American people that the existence of the military-industrial complex could pose a threat to political and economic freedom in the United States. He believes that with the increase in military spending and the intensification of the Cold War situation, the military-industrial complex may exert enormous political influence, pushing for a sustained war or expanding it in order to maintain its interests and profits. As a result, Eisenhower warned of the need to remain vigilant and avoid an over-integration of military and industrial forces. The composition of the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex usually includes the following aspects. Military government agencies. Primarily the military departments of governments, such as the U.S. Department of Defense, which are responsible for setting defense policy, budget allocation, and arms procurement. Military-industrial complex. A military-industrial corporation or contractor is a private enterprise that provides military equipment and technology. These companies provide governments with a variety of products ranging from weapons systems, aircraft, tanks, and ships to information technology, cybersecurity solutions, and more. Major U.S. military companies include Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, etc. Political connections. Politicians and government officials often have close ties to military-industrial corporations. Some members of Congress, senior government officials, and even retired military officers, may serve as advisors or directors to the military-industrial complex to ensure that the interests of the company are upheld. Such close political relations can lead to an increase in military spending to meet the needs of the military-industrial complex. Military technical research. Military technical research institutes and laboratories, such as Los Alamos National Laboratory and Sandia National Laboratories in the United States, are responsible for the development of new weapons systems and technologies. These research institutes usually work closely with the military-industrial complex. The impact of the military-industrial complex. Political and economic implications. The presence of the military-industrial complex makes military budgets and expenditures a key factor in political decision-making. The government usually procures large quantities of military equipment from military enterprises, which can lead to huge military spending and affect the government's fiscal policy. Through lobbying and political contributions, the military-industrial complex is often able to push support for military spending in Congress. While certain parliamentarians and government officials are pushing for military spending, they may also be pushing the interests of the military-industrial complex associated with them. Driving military spending. The military-industrial complex could drive unnecessary military spending and excessive weaponization. In order to safeguard the interests of the military industry, the government may fund some unnecessary or untimely military projects that do not necessarily meet the country's security needs. War economy. Some critics believe that the military-industrial complex could lead to the formation of a war economy. In order to protect profits, the military-industrial complex may push for war or military conflict, because war usually leads to huge government procurement orders. For a long time, this economic structure can exacerbate conflicts and wars and devote national resources to military competition. Foreign policy implications. The interests of the military-industrial complex are closely related to the foreign policy of the United States. To ensure the survival and expansion of the military-industrial complex, the government may pursue a more aggressive foreign policy, pushing for military intervention or military cooperation. Modern military-industrial complex. Today, the influence of the military-industrial complex is still present and expanding around the world. In addition to traditional military equipment, the rapid development of military technology, such as cyber warfare, artificial intelligence, drones, etc., has further expanded the business scope of military-industrial enterprises. Here are some of the important features of the modern military-industrial complex. Globalization. Many military-industrial companies have become global, providing equipment not only to the U.S. government, but also to other countries with military technology and support. Emerging technologies. With the continuous development of emerging technologies, the scope of the military-industrial complex has also expanded to cyber warfare, space technology, artificial intelligence, and other fields. The technology developed by the company can be used not only for military purposes, but also for civilian purposes. Civil-military integration. The boundaries of the military-industrial complex are blurring, and the boundaries between military and civilian technologies are becoming less and less obvious. For example, many military technologies, such as satellite navigation systems, internet technology, etc., are also widely used in the civilian field. Criticism and reflection of the military-industrial complex. Despite the fact that the military-industrial complex provides military force for national security, it has also been widely criticized. Promoting the war. Critics argue that the military-industrial complex drives the expansion of the war because it requires constant arms sales and military orders. In order to protect profits, the military-industrial complex may influence government decisions through lobbying, which can exacerbate international conflicts. Corruption and opacity. The vast financial and political power of the military-industrial complex can lead to corrupt and opaque operations. The relationship between some government officials and the military-industrial complex may not be transparent, resulting in a lack of effective government oversight of arms purchases and spending. Wasted resources. Military spending often accounts for a large portion of government budgets, and some argue that such spending can be wasteful and does not improve national security. Huge expenditures on military budgets can affect other social needs, such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Moral and ethical issues. Critics also point out that the operation of the military-industrial complex may ignore the moral and ethical issues that arise from military conflicts. For example, the sale of lethal weapons to unstable countries can lead to a humanitarian catastrophe. Source: Wikipedia. The military-industrial complex, MIC, also known as the military-industrial congressional complex, MICC, or the military-industrial complex in Chinese, describes the relationship between a country's military and the defense industry that supplies it with weapons, and together the two are seen as having a vested interest in influencing public policy. It is a type of industrial complex. One of the drivers behind the relationship between the military and defensive-minded corporations is that both sides benefit. One gets weapons of war and the other gets paid for providing them. The term is most commonly used to refer to the systems behind the U.S. armed forces, which is most prevalent due to the close ties between defense contractors, the Pentagon, and politicians. The expression became popular after Dwight David Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States, warned of the adverse effects of the relationship in his farewell address on January 17, 1961. In the U.S.-Chinese context, this designation is sometimes extended to the Military-Industrial Congressional Complex, MICC, which joins the U.S. Congress to form a trilateral relationship known as the Iron Triangle. Its three pillars include political contributions, political approval of military spending, lobbying in support of the bureaucracy, and oversight of industry, or more broadly, the entire contract network and the flow of money and resources between individuals and companies and agencies of defense contractors, private military contractors, the Pentagon, Congress, and executive branches. 11. Illuminati. Source: ChatGPT. The Illuminati is a secret organization that originated in the 18th century and is often associated with conspiracy theories and mysticism. Although the existence of the Illuminati has not been without controversy throughout history, it has become one of the cores of various conspiracy theories, with many images of global control, secret conspiracies, and power behind it being related. Historical background of the Illuminati. The Illuminati began as a secret organization called the Order of the Illuminati, founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt in Bavaria, Germany. Weishaupt's goal was to overthrow the religious and governmental controls of the time and promote the ideas of the Age of Enlightenment, such as reason, freedom, and science. Background. Wishapit was influenced by Enlightenment ideas, especially those of France and Germany, who opposed the rule of the Church and the state, and advocated freedom, reason, and human rights. He founded the Illuminati with the intention of propagating these ideas and achieving a more rational society by influencing the social elite. Organizational goals. The goal of the Illuminati is to change the world through education and the dissemination of Enlightenment ideas, especially to eliminate religious control and intervention in society, and to advance science and reason. It advocates freedom of thought, rational thinking, questioning of ecclesiastical and political power, and respect for individual freedom. The Illuminati emphasize secret relationships between members, who pledge through oaths to keep strict secrecy and manage the organization through a hierarchical system. Structure and operation. The organizational structure of the Illuminati was modeled after that of other secret societies, such as Freemasonry. It consists of a series of hierarchies and rituals, each representing different knowledge and responsibilities. Wishapit and his early members developed intricate rituals and symbols, partly influenced by ancient occult religions and traditions. The members of the Illuminati were mostly members of the social elite, including some aristocrats, scholars, and freethinkers, but it was not widely disseminated and had a relatively limited number of members. Dissolution and disappearance. Due to the anti-government and anti-religious stance of the Illuminati, the Bavarian government dissolved the Illuminati by decree in 1785 and forced its members to abandon their activities. Wishapit and other members were forced to hide their identities or flee, and the activities of the Illuminati largely ceased under legal pressure. Conspiracy theories and modern influences of the Illuminati. Although the Illuminati was disbanded at the end of the 18th century as a historical secret organization, it has become one of the core conspiracy theories in modern society, especially when it comes closely related to issues of global domination, liberalism, and political manipulation. Global conspiracy. In modern conspiracy theories, the Illuminati are often portrayed as a powerful force behind the scenes manipulating global events, political decisions, the financial system, and social movements. Many theories suggest that Illuminati members control the world economic and political order by manipulating national governments, multinational corporations, the media, and other institutions. According to these conspiracy theories, the Illuminati may have collaborated with other large-scale secret organizations, e.g., Freemasons, wealthy elites, globalization organizations, etc., to promote the New World Order. Symbols and symbols. The Illuminati have many iconic symbols in conspiracy theories, such as the all-seeing eye and the pyramid, which are commonly found on US dollar bills. The all-seeing eye symbolizes control and omniscience over the world, while the pyramid represents the hierarchy of the Illuminati or the stratification of global control. These symbols are often used by conspiracy theorists to prove that the Illuminati are still manipulating the world, and there are even theories that its symbols are hidden in modern politics, business, and culture. New World Order. A lot of conspiracy theories about the Illuminati revolve around the concept of the New World Order, NWO. The NWO was considered the ultimate goal of cooperation between the Illuminati and other elite blocs, to create a global centralized political system that would destroy the existing state sovereignty and social order. Some conspiracy theories suggest that members of the Illuminati are manipulating the global situation by creating wars, economic crises, natural disasters, and more in order to advance their agenda. Illuminati in entertainment and culture. The image of the Illuminati is widely referenced in modern culture, especially in films, novels, and video games. Many works such as The Da Vinci Code, National Treasure, and V for Vendetta have involved the Illuminati or similar organizations as part of the plot. The story of the Illuminati is widely used as a backdrop for fictional stories, becoming one of the elements of mysticism and adventure stories. The Illuminati in reality. Although modern conspiracy theories often associate the Illuminati with global events, there is no conclusive evidence that the Illuminati are still active in today's world. Historians and political scientists generally agree that the Illuminati as an organization, which was disbanded as early as the end of the 18th century, did not maintain its existence in modern society, as some conspiracy theories portray. However, the concept of the Illuminati still exists in cultural and political discussions, especially when discussing the concentration of power, the issues of globalization, and the influence of social elites, and the Illuminati is often used as a symbol to explain unclear political events or social phenomena. Source: Wikipedia. The Illuminati, Latin, Illuminati, was a secret organization founded in Bavaria on May 1, 1776, during the Enlightenment. The group is often accused of being involved in controlling the affairs of the world, by gaining political power and influence by controlling the power of currency, orchestrating historical events, and installing agents in government and corporations, ultimately establishing a new world order. 12. Freemasonry. Source: ChatGPT. Freemasonry is a long-established and widely distributed international secret society that originated from the medieval stonemasons guild and became an organized brotherhood in the 18th century. Its members are made up of people from all backgrounds, especially those who work in freelance professions or influential social classes. Freemasonry has many branches around the globe whose basic principles include personal growth, moral cultivation, fraternity, and the pursuit of social harmony. The historical origin of Freemasonry. The origins of Freemasonry can be traced back to the stonemasons guilds in the Middle Ages. In medieval Europe, the stonemasons guild was made up of stonemasons engaged in construction, especially church building, who organized themselves to protect the interests of the trade and improve their professional skills. Gradually, these unions developed a unique organizational structure, symbols, and rituals. Origins of the Masons Union. The earliest forms of organization of the Masons Guild date back to the 12th century AD or earlier. Stonemasons in the Middle Ages were not only engaged in construction, but also in the design and construction of buildings such as churches and palaces. With the development of construction technology, the stonemasons unions became widespread in Europe and became a place where craftsmanship skills and knowledge were passed on. Conversion to Freemasonry. Between the 16th and 17th centuries, the stonemasons guilds were transformed, with some non-stonemason members, such as aristocrats, scholars, and merchants, joining these unions and beginning to transform them into more moral, philosophical, and social ideals. These new members did not work in the stonemason trade, but sought spiritual uplift and personal cultivation by participating in the rituals and activities of the union. By the 18th century, Freemasonry was no longer confined to the masonry trade, but became a broader brotherhood that included members from all walks of life. The basic philosophy and structure of Freemasonry. Freemasonry is a brotherhood with unique rituals, symbols, and hierarchies. It emphasizes personal moral cultivation, social responsibility, and philanthropic work, while also promoting reason, science, and human progress. Core concept. Fraternity and charity. Freemasonry members live in the spirit of fraternity, emphasizing helping others and caring for the disadvantaged in society. Many branches of Freemasonry carry out charitable activities, donations, and volunteer services. Ethics and ethics. Freemasonry advocates the moral cultivation of the individual and requires members to uphold the principles of honesty, integrity, tolerance, and justice. Reason and freedom. Freemasonry was influenced by the ideas of the Age of Enlightenment, advocating reason, free thought, and personal freedom. Brotherhood. Freemasonry members are considered brothers and are expected to help and support each other, and follow strict ethical and confidentiality vows. Organizational structure. Hierarchy. The organizational structure of Freemasonry is hierarchical, with members progressing from beginners, apprentices, to higher ranks, as benevolents, masters. Each level has its own rituals and requirements. Rituals and symbols. Freemasonry activities are dominated by rituals, including secret initiation ceremonies, symbolic signs, vows, etc. These rituals and symbols often symbolize the moral and spiritual growth of the members. Branches and local organizations. Freemasons usually organize members through local branches or lodges, each of which is an independent unit, but they are often connected and coordinated with each other. Different clubs may have different traditions and habits. Symbols and symbols. Square hammer and compass. This is one of the most famous symbols of Freemasonry. The square hammer symbolizes labor and practice, and the compass symbolizes morality and control. The combination of the two symbolizes the balance of work and moral life. All-seeing eye. Sometimes found in Freemasonry coats of arms, it symbolizes God's omniscience and wisdom, as well as the quest for universal truth. Symbolism of light and darkness. There is a strong contrast of light and darkness in Freemasonic rituals, symbolizing the opposition between enlightenment and ignorance, truth and illusion. The global expansion and influence of Freemasonry. Freemasonry has a wide influence across the globe, especially in Western countries. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Freemasonry became a gathering place for social, political, and cultural elites from many countries in Europe and the Americas. Many historical figures, such as America's founding fathers, political leaders, scientists, and writers, have been associated with Freemasonry. America and Freemasonry. Many of America's founding fathers, such as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and others, were members of Freemasonry. Freemasonry had an important impact on the political culture of the United States, and many believe that some of the ideas in the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence were influenced by Freemasonic ideas. In addition, Masonic symbols are commonly found in many U.S. state institutions and emblems, such as the all-seeing eye and the pyramid on the U.S. dollar bill. Europe and Freemasonry. Freemasonry was widespread and influential in places like France and England in the 18th and 19th centuries. Many cultures, philosophies, artistic movements, and Enlightenment ideas have a strong relationship with Freemasonry. During the French Revolution, some revolutionary leaders were considered members of Freemasonry, and although the evidence for this is not entirely certain, Freemasonic ideas had a certain influence on the revolution's ideas of overthrowing the old regime and pursuing freedom and equality. Masonic criticism and controversy. Due to the secrecy of Freemasonry and the close ties between its members, many conspiracy theories and controversies revolve around this organization. Conspiracy theory. Freemasonry has long been regarded by some conspiracy theorists as a global secret organization, claiming that it is behind-the-scenes manipulation of political, financial, and cultural affairs. Many conspiracy theories about the New World Order, global control, political assassinations, etc., have Freemasonry as part of it. It has been argued that members of Freemasonry influence national and international affairs through their economic and political networks, promoting specific ideological or political goals. Clash of religions. Freemasonry is highly controversial in certain religious groups, especially in Catholicism and certain Protestant denominations. The Church is often critical of Freemasonry's secret nature and its non-religious attitude, believing that it may threaten the purity of religious beliefs. Many Catholics have been barred from joining Freemasonry, and the Church has made it clear that some of the ideas of Freemasonry are incompatible with the Christian faith. Social inequality and privilege. Some critics argue that Freemasonry tends to bring together privileged and elite classes and can exacerbate social inequalities. Some politicians and social movements have criticized Freemasonry as an elite club, and sometimes it may be used to assert vested interests, leading to an unfair social structure. Source: Wikipedia. Freemasonry is a brotherhood organization with clubs all over the world, evolved from the Stonemason Trade Association in Europe at the end of the Middle Ages. Modern Freemasonry originated in England. The British Freemasonry was founded in 1717 AD. The Irish General and the Scottish General Association were founded in 1725 and 1736 respectively, and these three general societies became the origin of all general societies in the world. After the establishment of the British Freemasonry, the spiritual philosophy of Freemasonry quickly spread to the European continent and the Americas, and its members established their own Freemasonry associations in various countries, including countless elites in the world, such as 14 American presidents such as Truman, such as George Washington, Giuseppe Garibaldi, Rizal, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, Simon Bolivar and other founding heroes, and Enlightenment philosophers such as Voltaire and Montesquieu, or novelists such as Victor Hugo and Conan Doyle. There are also musicians such as Mozart and Haydn, scientists such as Rudolf Steiner and Alexander Fleming, and outstanding talents such as Churchill and Roosevelt who led people out of the Great War, all gathered in this big family, and there are currently more than 4 million members worldwide. The membership hierarchy of Freemasonry still has a strong medieval flavor to this day, and in addition to inheriting the craftsmanship of stonemasonry, it was also influenced by the chivalry and enlightenment of the time, and it was transformed into its own unique rituals, symbols, identification methods, and unique educational system. Freemasonry organizations have members in academia, art, politics, and business in many countries and regions. 13. Fear of centralization. Source: ChatGPT. Fear of centralized power, also known as totalitarian fear, refers to the fear and concern that the government or organization will have too much power and control over all aspects of society. It stems from an awareness of the potential dangers of the concentration of power, the fear that when power is concentrated in a few individuals or one institution, leads to the loss of freedom, the violation of individual rights, and social injustice. This fear can be traced back to many examples of authoritarian or totalitarian regimes throughout history, which often ruled through highly centralized powers, silencing dissenting voices, depriving people of their freedoms, and causing social unrest and injustice. Totalitarian fear is a fear of the loss of democracy, freedom, and social justice, and it is widespread in the political, social, and cultural spheres, especially in democratic societies and free markets. A source of fear of centralization. Historical totalitarian regimes. Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union were the main sources of fear of totalitarianism. The regimes of Hitler and Stalin exercised social control through centralized power, suppressed dissent, and even carried out large-scale political purges, persecutions, and massacres. These historical events have deeply embedded people's fear of authoritarian governments. The tyranny of fascism and communism in the 20th century also exacerbated fears of centralization. Dictators often maintain their rule over society through extreme means of control, such as censorship, mass surveillance, and economic and military manipulation. Concerns of modern totalitarianism. In modern times, many people's fear of concentration of power stems from fear of the erosion of democratic institutions. Centralization of power could mean easier access to elections, media suppression, restrictions on civil liberties, and even collective surveillance. In some countries, even with democratic elections and multi-party systems, power can be highly concentrated among a few elites, leading to social injustice and government corruption. This often raises fears of centralization, as it undermines political transparency and fairness. Technical monitoring and centralization. As technology advances, especially the popularity of big data, artificial intelligence, and surveillance, many fear that technology is being used to exacerbate centralized control. The collection and analysis of personal data by governments or large corporations may be used to monitor citizens' behavior, restrict freedom of expression, and even manipulate public opinion. For example, the widespread use of social media platforms and smart devices makes it easier for governments and businesses to grasp personal information and behavior patterns, which can be abused to strengthen centralized control, which in turn exacerbates societal fears of loss of privacy and freedom. A manifestation of the fear of centralization. Political fear. Fear of dictatorship. The atrocities of many authoritarian regimes throughout history have led to a deep fear of authoritarian politics. Even in modern democracies, the potential risk of the emergence of totalitarian regimes is often the focus of political discussions. Concerns about electoral manipulation. Fear of centralization is also manifested in doubts about electoral fairness. Some fear that possible manipulation in the electoral process could lead to the centralization of government, which in turn undermines people's right and will to vote. Social fear. Concerns about control of speech and thought. Totalitarian regimes often maintain control through the suppression of speech and the media. Society's concerns about freedom of speech and freedom of the press stem from fear of centralized control over speech. Censorship and crackdown on dissent in some countries have left citizens anxious about the loss of freedom of expression. Concerns about social injustice. In authoritarian systems, resources and opportunities are often concentrated in the hands of a few, leading to a widening gap between the rich and the poor, and an increase in social inequality. There are often fears that a totalitarian society may lead to injustice to the vulnerable. Economic fears. Fear of excessive government intervention in the economy. Many people are fearful of excessive government intervention in the economy, especially restrictions on market freedom. Centralized governments may shape the economic environment by controlling markets, resource allocation, and industrial policies, creating market imbalances. Concerns about concentration of economic power. For example, the collusion of large multinational corporations and governments can create concentrated forces in the economy, suppress small businesses and individual economies, and limit innovation and competition, and this centralized economic control can lead to market failure and unfair competition. Cultural and ideological fears. Fear of cultural homogeneity. Totalitarian regimes often push for a single-state ideology that suppresses diverse cultures and ideas. The fear of losing cultural diversity and freedom of thought in a centralized society may lead to a homogeneous and rigid society, and even lead to the atrophy of culture and art. Coping and reflecting on the fear of centralization. Separation of powers and checks and balances. In order to avoid the phenomenon of centralization, many countries have adopted a political system of decentralization and checks and balances. By decentralizing government power into different departments and levels, it ensures that no single agency or individual can control all power. Such a system helps to ensure the functioning of democratic politics and to prevent abuses of power. Transparency and accountability. Government transparency and citizen participation are important tools to prevent centralization. Transparency in public policy and government actions can reduce corruption and abuse of power and ensure that the government is accountable to its citizens. In addition, public participation and supervision of government decision-making is also an effective way to avoid centralization. Technology ethics and privacy protection. By strengthening data protection laws and privacy laws and regulations, the misuse of big data and surveillance technologies can be prevented. Society's protection of privacy and ethical scrutiny of the use of technology can prevent the improper use of information technology in authoritarian governments. Education and citizenship. By popularizing democratic awareness and civic education, raising people's vigilance against centralized behavior and enhancing society's cherishing of democracy and freedom can reduce the anxiety caused by the fear of centralized power. The healthy development of civil society and the maintenance of social diversity are essential for checks and balances on centralization. Source: Epoch Times. On January 6, 1941, President Franklin Brown of the United States was the President of the United States. In his address to Congress, Roosevelt proclaimed 4 fundamental human freedoms, namely, freedom of speech, freedom of belief, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. In particular, the proposal of freedom from fear demonstrated the wisdom of President Roosevelt and was widely praised by posterity. On December 10, 1948, the United Nations General Assembly adopted and promulgated the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In the preamble to this declaration, it is established that the advent of a world in which everyone enjoys freedom of expression and belief, free from fear and want, has been declared the highest aspiration of ordinary people. In April 1975, Czech dissident Havel wrote in an open letter to Husák, "Fear is not the only building material in the current social fabric. However, it is the main, basic material, without which there is not even a superficial unity, discipline, and unanimity, on which the official document asserting that our country can obtain a stable situation is based on." And Mr. Havel has stated through a large number of facts that the highest principle of the late totalitarian society is stability. And in order to maintain stability, the basic conditions on which it operates remain fear and lies. The pervasive fear creates the pervasive omnipresent lie. Since pervasive fear has become the basic condition for the functioning of post-totalitarian societies, tracing the root causes behind this phenomenon of fear becomes the key to solving the mysteries of post-totalitarian societies and providing a reference for the eventual end of totalitarian societies. 1. Creatures under the shadow of fear. As for what a post-totalitarian society is, Mr. Li Shenzi once made a classic summary of this in the preface to the collected works of Havel. A post-totalitarian society is a period when the original impetus of totalitarianism has been exhausted, that is, a period when the clockwork of the revolution has been loosened. The powerful have lost the originality and harshness of their predecessors. However, the system still works largely as it is, by inertia or inertia. Those in power have to talk a little more about the rule of law than in the past. Note, not the rule of law. Consumerism is on the rise, and corruption is on the rise. But society is still the same apathy, the same inhumanity, the same as it used to be, and the center of power is still the center of truth. The supreme principle of this society is stability. And in order to maintain stability, the basic conditions on which it operates remain fears and panic. Havel once described in detail in depth the pervasive phenomenon of fear in the post-totalitarian society. Because of the fear of losing his job, the middle school teacher teaches what he does not believe, fearing for his future. The student repeats him after the teacher, fearing that they will not be allowed to continue their studies. Young people join groups and participate in activities whether they are necessary or not. Under this system of deformed political credibility, the fear of whether his son or daughter has achieved the necessary total score in school makes the father do everything that is asked of him in all obligatory and voluntary ways. Fear of the outcome of rejection leads people to go to elections, vote for recommended candidates, and pretend that they think this kind of formality is a real election. Out of fear for their livelihoods, their status, or their future, they had to vote in favor of every resolution, or at least remain silent. It is fear that causes them to experience the humiliating behavior of self-criticism, atonement, and disgraceful filling in a whole bunch of disgraceful questions. Fearing that someone might denounce them and expel them from the existing society, they usually express their true thoughts in private. In most cases, the so-called work obligation that makes workers in their name is the kind of person who fears to endure economic regression, who strives to improve themselves and to curry favor with the powerful. In fact, the same motive is hidden behind the creation of the socialist labor commandos, which exist in this sober awareness that their main function is to be mentioned in appropriate reports to the superiors. Fear has led people to attend various official celebrations, demonstrations, and marches. Driven away from ongoing work by fear, many scientists and artists pledge allegiance to ideas they do not actually accept, write about things they disagree with or know to be false, participate in official organizations and engage in work that they consider to be of little value, or distort and censor their own work. In their efforts to preserve themselves, many even report exactly the kind of things they themselves do to the people they are reporting to. Havel's description is a classic reflection of the pervasiveness and ever-present nature of fear in a post-totalitarian society. In a post-totalitarian society, fear becomes a deep driver of behavior. Fear envelopes everyone's psyche and dictates everyone's behavior. In this society, people's behavior does not come from the pursuit of goodness, the desire for truth, nor is it based on their own rights, but completely weighs the implication of political power. The implication is that many things are not explicitly displayed in a certain statute or document, but permeate all aspects of society through various propaganda and education, especially in reality, where some people are persecuted for trying to go beyond political restrictions, and people have repeatedly been forced to submit to certain tacit rules. In a post-totalitarian society, the superficial rules have been rationalized, but both the rulers and the people only play by the unspoken rules. The reason why this is so is because of fear. Fear in a post-totalitarian society encroaches on all private domains, making fear pervasive. Not only are people unable to escape from social life and have to deal with communal power, but there is no private realm to hide in this society, and this society does not provide any private person with respite from fear. This social power is arbitrarily used to create a lever of social control, and the most advanced technological advances are often used first and foremost for social control rather than for social development and improvement of people's livelihoods, so that people are subordinated to the will of the totalitarian regime. In order to achieve this control, the tentacles of totalitarianism extend to every possible corner, so that private telephones are monitored, communications are checked, private homes are wiretapped, private parties are stalked, private computers are planted, and even bedside conversations between couples can become the basis for political persecution, all of which are evidenced by real cases. Many dissidents have been sentenced, and their private letters and phone calls have been presented as incriminating evidence in court. Mr. Yao was detained and interrogated for interrogation when he communicated with people at home, and was detained and interrogated for dinner with friends at a restaurant. There are also couples who are caught and fined for watching yellow discs at home, and so on. The ubiquity of totalitarianism has led to the absence of any privacy in this society, let alone any private domain that has escaped the infringement of public power. The private space of wind can enter, rain can enter, and the king cannot enter formed in the West as early as the beginning of modern times is still difficult to find a shadow in today's China. Fear in a post-totalitarian society is also present throughout it, and fear is ever present. Fear in a post-totalitarian society underpins the functioning of totalitarianism, and if there is no fear, totalitarianism ceases to exist. Although this fear has changed its form over time, it has different emphases in different periods, such as the suppression of dissidents in a certain period, the suppression of religious groups in a certain period, the suppression of non-governmental NGOs in a certain period, the suppression of petitions in a certain period, the suppression of rights protection in a certain period, and so on. But the repression has been consistent, with a different focus at different times. What has changed is only the order of the order in the list of repression, and the essence of repression remains the same. This ruling policy of maintaining a high-pressure policy for a long time, taking the initiative to attack, arresting everyone that is exposed, and resolutely nipping it in the bud is a naked reign of terror, and its purpose is to create an atmosphere of fear in society, so that everyone in society will be in danger and watch out for each other. In the long run, the individual in society completely succumbs to this fear, and thus is half forced and half consciously submissive to the will of the ruler. Some of the methods used by post-totalitarian societies to create fear are perpetuated by totalitarian societies. For example, it will fully mobilize all social resources and make use of all factors that can touch people's emotions, spirits, and wills. For example, in recent years, the mobilization of some dissident and rights defenders' neighbors has caused them to alienate and isolate dissidents, except for some who may be bribed into spies and whistleblowers, and not only that, but also to investigate the 3 relatives and 6 relatives of these dissident rights defenders, and to ask them for questioning, so that these people who are related to the past feel pressure and fear, thus forming a sense of oppression in the family relationship of those dissidents and rights defenders, and achieving the goal of controlling them by suppressing people's most primitive emotions. But on the other hand, the rule of post-totalitarian societies has taken on new characteristics. Because the post-totalitarian society has lost its motive force, faith has collapsed, morality has long since been lost, the rule of law is only a disguise, and the rulers have become completely dominated by personal interests, and thus have more scruples. They even use the underworld forces in society to create an atmosphere of terror. Because of the darkness, cruelty, unpredictability, unreasonableness, ruthlessness, and mercenary nature of the underworld forces, the historical memory of social terror has been realistically strengthened, and these dissidents and rights defenders have been trapped in a predicament where their lives are in danger at any time, as evidenced by the fact that since last year, rights defenders such as Guo Fixiang, Gao Zhisheng, Lu Zhenzhu, Yao Leghua, and Sun Bu'er have been repeatedly beaten by local underworld forces. At the same time, the ruling clique will also adopt all-round and uninterrupted monitoring and harassment of some typical figures, forming a huge intense oppressive situation, so as to set a terrifying example for society and warn other potential enemies in society. Therefore, the rule of a post-totalitarian society no longer seems to be the kind of naked violence on the surface, but in essence it uses more of some weaknesses of human nature to create an atmosphere of fear, so as to achieve the goal of domination. This transformation from the fear of physical threats to the spiritual fears of emotion and will embodies the refined characteristics of post-totalitarian rule. To trace the source of fear. Why do people have fear? Obviously, the fear in question here is not a purely biological organismal response, but a universal state in the socio-ethical sense. The fear we are dealing with is in a deeper sense, if you will, in an ethical sense, that is, about the more or less shared collective consciousness of a persistent, pervasive, crisis, worrying about what is or may be threatened. Mr. Havel said, in a broader sense, any person in our country is inherently vulnerable. Everyone has something to lose, so everyone has reason to worry. The range of things that one can lose is wide-ranging, including the wide variety of privileges enjoyed by those in a dominant position, all the special opportunities available to the powerful, the enjoyment of such things as quiet work, promotion, and holding of power, the ability to work in one's own field, access to higher education, and only a limited standard of basic living for other citizens. Here Mr. Havel summarizes fear as the fear of something to be lost, the more or less sharing of a permanent, pervasive, crisis-related collective consciousness, the worry about what is or may be threatened. It can be seen that the fear of the post-totalitarian society refers to a general state of life in society, which is people's fear of unpredictable external threats and the fear of the uncontrollability of their own fate. Specifically, it is the individuals of this society who are faced with the following at any time: 1. The loss of what they currently have, 2. Loss of possible future opportunities, 3. Take on the problems left over from the past. But people in any society face risks to their lives, so why is it a state of fear in a post-totalitarian society? To answer this question, it is obviously necessary to understand the basis for the behavior of people in different societies. Looking at the social forms of human history, from the basis of people's behavior, it can be roughly divided into 3 states. First, what is not expressly prohibited by law is feasible. In a modern civilized society governed by the rule of law, people's activities are within the scope of what is not expressly prohibited by law, that is, what is not prohibited by law is feasible. Second, what is clearly stipulated by law is feasible. In the so-called semi-civilized legal society, people's actions are within the scope of the law's explicit permission, people's behavior is defined by the law, and what the law does not stipulate is not allowed. Third, there is a society on earth that goes beyond the law and limits what people do according to the will of the rulers. This kind of society, whether it is prohibited by law or within the law, cannot be the basis for people's behavior, and the likes and dislikes of the ruling will above the law are the norms that people follow in their behavior, which is a totalitarian society. In the first 2 social states, whether it is prohibited by law or prescribed by law, people's behavior is grounded, what should be done and what should not be done is still clear, what a person has violated, what punishment should be received is still clear. People living in this kind of society can still grasp their own destiny, at least he is clear about what he will lose today, what he may lose tomorrow, and what he will bear in the past, and there is a basis for it, so there is not much fear. Only people living in a totalitarian society, their behavior is governed by an invisible will to rule, because of the variability, arbitrariness, and concealment of the will of the rulers, so that the people of this society behave unjustified, what is feasible in one period, and often become forbidden in another period, so that people cannot predict the consequences of their actions, so that they cannot grasp what they have today, what is possible tomorrow, and what they have done in the past. And this randomness and unpredictability will inevitably lead to fear. So in post-totalitarian societies, people's fear of unpredictable fate is a common social reality. The general uncertainty of fate has created a general social panic that has caused fear to permeate everyone's heart. So what causes uncertainty about people's behavior in totalitarian societies? Why can't the ruling will of a post-totalitarian society become a definite and permanent rule to guide this society? To answer this question, we must first understand the elements of the legitimacy of social power. A legitimate regime should have three meanings, or contain three major elements. First, it conforms to the laws of nature, that is, it conforms to the way of heaven. The birth of human society is just an episode of natural evolution, and only by following the laws of nature can human beings better continue and develop themselves. The establishment of a social regime should first conform to the law of natural development, otherwise it will be cursed by heaven, and disasters will continue to occur, and it will never be sustainable. Second, it conforms to the law of human nature, that is, it is in line with humanity and the needs of human development, so that human nature is healthy and comprehensive, so that people's viciousness can be effectively controlled, people's goodness can be effectively promoted, and the political power has become the representative of public opinion, and as the yearning of the people, society is in a benign operation. Third, it conforms to humanistic law, that is, conforms to the principles of the legal system that is generally recognized by society, and realizes the legitimacy of the political power in accordance with the procedures of the legal system. Today, no matter how much a regime claims to conform to the way of heaven and humanity, it must carry out the procedures for confirming legitimate political power that human society has summed up and explored, that is, the operation of political power under democratic elections, democratic authorization, and democratic supervision. These three aspects were reflected in ancient times through the divine authority of the monarchy, and modern civilization and politics believe that the embodiment of these three meanings is democratic constitutionalism, and historical experience has proved that only democratic constitutionalism can fundamentally guarantee the unity and integrity of the three elements of political power. Since modern social regimes should have these three elements, we can see the lack of legitimacy in post-totalitarian societies in retrospect. A post-totalitarian society is a regime that is neither able to continue the divine right of kings nor willing to carry out the legal procedures of modern civilization. They dare not agree that power comes from the granting of power by citizens, nor dare they exalt the legitimacy of violent seizure of power, so the legitimacy of power cannot be found. A regime without legitimacy has no solid social foundation, just like clouds floating in the air, sometimes to the east and sometimes to the west, moving with the wind, and there is nothing to rely on. The arbitrariness and uncertainty of this ruling will lead to the failure of social behavior, so all totalitarian countries on the earth have staged repeated social turmoil and cyclical national tragedies. The disasters of the past half-century or so in China have vividly illustrated this kind of repeated political turmoil without legal support. In such a shock, the fate of anyone who is one of them is uncertain, including the rulers themselves, who live in fear. The reason why Mao Zedong launched campaigns again and again was because he was afraid of losing power, and the people below him were even more mortal, crippled, and if few people died well, ordinary people would be even more miserable, and the whole society would sink into the quagmire of fear. This kind of political fear of the whole society is mainly transformed into a kind of material fear today, the fear of having no security and no security in life, and some psychological factors of the bureaucracy's frenzied corruption can also be explored. Why does a regime without legitimacy inevitably lead to widespread fear in society? Because without a legitimate political power, it is impossible for power to be supervised according to law, and power without supervision is like a beast without locks and a river without embankments, and it is inevitable that it will be raging and overflowing. The combination of power without oversight and the evil of human nature will inevitably give rise to endless evils and lead to general disasters in society. This catastrophe manifests itself in the unwarranted infringement and deprivation of rights of ordinary people, the loss of development opportunities, and the absence of all guarantees. This fear manifests itself in the frenzied ingestion of the right does not expire and invalidate mentality among those in power, but this frenzied grabbing has to face prosecution that may come at any time. The marriage of the lack of legitimacy and the evil of human nature has produced the freak of the elite. The illegality and injustice of the elite class is obvious to all, and if an unjust class wants to maintain its rule, it can only use illegal and unjust means, so they strive to carry out the evil to the end under the premise of fear of legal and moral reckoning, transfer their own fear to the society, eliminate all factors that may resist the evil in the bud, and let the general fear of the society balance the fear of the powerful to commit crimes, which is not only the need of the criminal psychology, but also the practical need to cover up the facts of the crime and ensure the results of the crime. Therefore, the fear is further transmitted to the general public through the elite class, because these ordinary people are the objects of aggression by the elites, and they may rise up at any time to seek justice, so that the ordinary people are the potential enemies of the elites, and the suppression of the ordinary people is the inevitable choice of the elites. In fact, in addition to fearing the people, the elite also fears infighting among the elites, because institutional crime also provides a substantial basis for institutional infighting. Therefore, they are not only afraid of the righteous reckoning in the future, but also afraid of the real power turning into clouds and rain. Under this double fear, a large number of Chinese officials not only transferred assets abroad, but also fled directly to other countries. According to an internal report by the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection of the Communist Party of China, the Ministry of Supervision, and the Ministry of Public Security, from 2000 to June 30, 2003 alone, 6,528 party members and cadres of party and government departments, organs, state-owned enterprises, and public institutions went missing, and 8,362 fled the country, including 3,905 cadres at or above the county and department level, and 1,252 died by suicide. It can be seen that the people of this society are panicking. It can be seen that the root cause of fear in the post-totalitarian society is the lack of legitimacy of the regime, and the regime without legitimacy will not establish an effective legal system to restrain power and provide a basis for society to act, and the combination of unrestrained power and human evil will produce the evil elites, and the elite will take all means to suppress the people's resistance in order to cover up the evil because of the fear of justice, and the people will face the fear of deeper repression brought about by rights protection after facing the fear of deprivation. This ring of fear is derived, forming a phobia syndrome that engulfs the entire society. In this way, society is engulfed in layers of fear, no one can escape, no one is immune, and no one is beyond fear. Post-totalitarian societies create a social climate of fear, but they do not provide a legitimate way to address fear, as mentioned earlier, without providing legal norms for social behavior. So how can this society get out of fear? 3. The path to dispel fear. Since the source of fear is the lack of legitimacy of the regime, rebuilding the legitimacy of the regime becomes the key to unlocking social fear. If the legitimacy of a regime is not resolved, it will not be able to achieve long-term peace and stability. Therefore, in order to free society from fear, the legitimacy of the regime must first be addressed. To rebuild the legitimacy of the regime is to implement the principle that sovereignty rests with the people, power is granted by the people, power is exercised under democratic supervision, and it is rotated in the popular elections of political parties, so as to realize China's dream of a century-old constitutional government. Only a legitimate political power can establish a socially rational legal system, so that social behavior has a legal basis, so that social contradictions can have a legal ruling, and the fate of the social individual can be self-controlled in accordance with the legal principle, and no external force will interfere with the individual's autonomy for no reason, and will not have the right to influence the development of the individual. When a person has the support of the law, he will be in the same position before the law as a powerful political power, and he will not be afraid of the unjustified calamities imposed on him by the force, and he will be free from unwarranted fear. So how can the legitimacy of the regime be restored? In a totalitarian regime rife with evil, we cannot find a way to legitimize it by reinventing itself, judging from historical precedents in China and abroad. Of course, this does not preclude the struggle of some conscientious people in the totalitarian system under the inspiration of civilization, but the chronic diseases of the system and the evils of human nature determine the difficulty and weakness of this struggle. To expect a complete reform of the system is not only remote, but almost fantastical. Therefore, this totalitarian regime itself does not have the ability to rebuild its legitimacy, so the power to rebuild the legitimacy of the regime can only come from external forces. To this end, the external forces that can be invoked mainly come from two aspects. One is the impetus of the international civilized world, and the other is the resistance of civil society. Let's first look at the impetus of the international civilized world. With the development of human society, especially the baptism of the First and Second World Wars, as well as the activities of terrorist groups in recent years, mankind has become more and more aware of the significance of the solidarity of civilization. As a totalitarian society that generates fear, if it is not restrained and cannot achieve fundamental change, then sooner or later it will inevitably import this fear into the countries of other civilizations, and other countries will not be at peace. As can be seen from Iraq, North Korea, and Cuba, the catastrophe is by no means confined to one country, but sooner or later it will spread to its neighbors and other peoples. Therefore, human society has now realized that the greatest source of human terror is the evil totalitarian regime, and that all totalitarian regimes must be put an end to the freedom of humanity from fear. Based on this understanding, the civilized world is increasingly concerned about those living under totalitarian rule and seeks to support those forces that are committed to transforming totalitarian regimes. The solidarity and assistance of the international civilized world undoubtedly provide tremendous spiritual support to those living under the reign of fear. In today's world, where humanity is increasingly integrated, the efforts of the civilized world will always be necessary and indispensable to promote the end of totalitarian regimes. Of course, the more important force lies in the civil resistance that has grown up in a totalitarian society. Although fear pervades every corner of a totalitarian society, some warriors who respond to the call of human conscience and justice can always break through fear and rise up to fight. If we look at the history of totalitarian societies on Earth, we will find that the revolt has never stopped. A history of totalitarian rule is also a history of resistance to totalitarianism. In the past half-century, from the anti-rightist movement to the Cultural Revolution, from the Zayden Democracy Wall to the 89 Democracy Movement, from the 98 Party to the Rights Protection Movement in recent years, there have been struggles one after another. Even in the dark night of totalitarian rule, we can always see the stars twinkling in the sky. It should be said that the efforts of the Chinese people to resist totalitarian rule have never stopped, but after more than half a century, this effort has not yet coalesced into a force to fundamentally change totalitarian rule. Summing up the gains and losses, we can see that there are many reasons, but the general fear of the people is really a factor that cannot be ignored to ensure the continuation of a totalitarian society. In today's Chinese society, it should be said that people's dissatisfaction with society is widespread, but discontent has not formed an effective force for social change, and the reason is that people's fear prevents people from taking action to change this discontent. On the one hand, there is a general dissatisfaction with reality, and on the other hand, they dare not take action to change it, which is the paradox of Chinese society today. How can we translate widespread discontent into action to transform society? Clearly, dispelling the fears that grapple with people is a prerequisite for taking real steps towards reform. So, how do you dispel the fear in people's hearts? First of all, we must recognize fear and despise fear in our consciousness. You know, the greatest fear of human beings is the fear of themselves. To change one's own state of fear, succumbing to fear is not a way to dispel fear, but rather it will strengthen the fear and make it more effective, which will also provide the fear-generating party with the basis and motivation to further implement the fear. If we recognize that fear is the fear of the perpetrator of the terror itself, and that the fear inflicted on us is merely a cover for their own fear, we will despise that fear and we will spiritually transcend it. When we further understand that the fear of a totalitarian society turns out to be the lack of legitimacy of a totalitarian regime, which causes panic among the rulers of the regime, and then transfers this panic to the people and creates fear in society, then we have corrected our own mentality, and we know that justice, and jurisprudence are on our side, and we have enough confidence to get out of fear. The so-called righteous and strong, righteous and strict. With truth and morality in hand, dare to ask the world what to fear? Second, in response to the totalitarian regime's key attack on those who do not cooperate, and the various methods of defeating each other, joint struggle has become inevitable. As totalitarian social rule continues to become more refined, they create fear and often take advantage of human weaknesses, family affection, will, endurance, etc., through isolation, interference, monitoring and other means to form a strong pressure. In response to this fear, openness, solidarity are clearly important ways to overcome fear. The fear of rebellion against totalitarianism is because of the weakness of the individual in the face of the huge dictatorship, and if there are colleagues at home and abroad who encourage and support each other, then they will break the loneliness and isolation, and they will strengthen themselves spiritually, and they will overcome their fears. In view of the refinement of totalitarian social rule, the union of civil resistance forces is both necessary and possible, because after all, naked bloodshed has become a thing of the past, and the space for the existence of resistance forces is constantly increasing, and the closer the resistance forces are united, the less likely they are to be strangled. Thirdly, the modern way of fighting is a powerful guarantee against fear. Human society has rich experience in resisting totalitarian regimes, and from the perspective of the path of struggle summarized and explored by the sages at home and abroad, peace, rationality, and nonviolence are the principles, reasonableness, advantage, and moderation are the methods, and law, openness, and cooperation are the means. Safeguarding people's basic rights is a just cause, a cause under the sun, and a cause under the sun is a means under the sun, and it is necessary to bid farewell to the conspiracy politics under the traditional autocracy, and openness is also the most powerful magic weapon to defeat fear, and it is a sharp weapon to break through the dark spy rule of the totalitarian regime. Because in a way, fear is not public, and once it is presented in the sun, there is no fear. Finally, have faith in humanity. It is necessary to believe that those who are fear-giving totalitarian systems are more fearful than we are, and that they will also try to get rid of this fear, that is, the main force that imposes fear is itself motivated to rebel against fear, and reason will eventually prompt them to abandon the totalitarian system. Therefore, we should have confidence in people living in totalitarian regimes, including those who defend them. Fundamentally, it is a belief in human nature, and the belief that it is everyone's common desire to break free from fear and live a normal life. Let us give the greatest encouragement to those who have a revived conscience in a totalitarian regime and applaud them for any modicum of effort to end the totalitarian reign of terror. When all those who do not want to live in fear join hands, the day will come to end fear. At that time, we will all realize that the totalitarian system is nothing more than a paper tiger. As soon as we all put aside fear, it will be gone. It can be seen from the history of ancient and modern China and foreign countries that the most fundamental driving force for the arrival of a social change is the maturity and strength of the power of change in the society itself. In order to eradicate the source of totalitarian fear, China needs the support and help of the international civilized world, and at the same time, it must rely mainly on the growth of its own resistance forces. In the face of the fear that is rampant in the totalitarian society, let all the forces of justice at home and abroad closely unite and work for the realization of the freedom of mankind free from fear. 14. Asset Management Companies. Source, ChatGPT. An asset management company, AMC, is a type of financial institution specializing in asset management, portfolio management, and capital operations. They use investors' capital for various types of financial assets, such as stocks, bonds, real estate, etc., through professional capital operation strategies to achieve asset appreciation and capital gain. Asset management companies can provide wealth management and investment management services to individuals, businesses, funds, governments, etc. The main functions of an asset management company: money management and portfolio building. Asset managers design and manage investment portfolios for their clients. These portfolios usually include a variety of asset classes, e.g., stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, etc., and the investment strategy is tailored to the client's risk tolerance, investment objectives and horizon. Asset management companies will dynamically adjust the allocation of investment portfolios according to changes in the market, with a view to maintaining and increasing the value of capital. Risk control and asset allocation. Asset managers need to assess and control the risks of their portfolios to ensure that their clients' funds are reasonably returned in line with their risk appetite. They utilize a variety of financial instruments, such as hedging, options, futures, etc., for risk management. In terms of asset allocation, asset management companies diversify investment risks according to the market environment and customer needs to ensure long-term steady growth of assets. Investment research and analysis. Asset management companies usually set up a dedicated research team to conduct global macroeconomic analysis, industry research, company fundamental analysis, etc., to help investment managers make informed investment decisions. These research data and analysis reports are an important basis for building a portfolio and selecting investment targets. Customer consultation and service. In addition to asset management, asset managers also provide investment advisory and wealth planning services. By understanding the needs of our clients, we provide personalized investment advice and help them achieve their financial goals, such as retirement planning, tax planning, etc. Compliance and transparency. Asset managers need to comply with strict legal and regulatory requirements to ensure compliance in their investment operations. At the same time, they also need to report regularly to their clients on the performance of their portfolios to ensure transparency. The operating model of the asset management company. Asset managers typically earn income in the following ways. Management fee. Asset managers typically charge a percentage of management fees, which are their main source of income. The management fee is generally calculated based on the total amount of the client's assets or the size of the portfolio. For example, an asset manager may charge an annual fee of 1% to 2%, depending on the size of the assets under management and the type of services provided. Performance fee. Some asset managers charge clients additional fees based on investment performance, often referred to as performance fees or success fees. For example, if a portfolio's return exceeds a predetermined benchmark, the asset manager may receive a percentage of the excess return as compensation. Usually, the proportion of the performance fee will vary depending on the performance of the performance. Fund distribution fee. For companies that manage funds, there may also be sales fees or subscription fees charged when selling funds. These fees are generally charged as a lump sum at the time of purchase of fund shares. Challenges faced by asset managers. Market volatility. Asset managers need to deal with market uncertainty and volatility. In the event of market turmoil, the portfolio may not perform as expected, which affects not only the client's earnings, but also the company's own revenue. Customer churn. Asset managers need to maintain client trust and satisfaction. If the portfolio is underperforming, clients may choose to divest or switch to other asset managers. As a result, the company needs to maintain a high-quality service and positive performance. Compliance pressure. Asset managers need to comply with the financial regulations of various countries and regions to ensure that their operations and investment decisions do not violate relevant legal requirements. At the same time, as the regulatory environment changes, asset managers need to constantly adjust their operating models to ensure compliance. Increased competition. With the globalization of financial markets and the advancement of technology, the asset management industry has become more and more competitive. More and more fintech companies and robo-advisors have also entered the field of asset management to provide low-cost and efficient asset management services, which has brought challenges to traditional asset management companies. Types of asset management companies. Asset managers can be divided by asset classes under management and client types, with common types including retail asset management companies. It mainly serves ordinary investors and family wealth management, and usually provides investment products such as mutual funds and retirement funds. These companies are usually geared towards mass investors, have a wide range of products, and have a transparent fee structure. Institutional asset management companies. It mainly serves large institutional customers, such as pension funds, insurance companies, charitable foundations, corporate funds, etc. They provide customized asset management services to these clients, often with large assets under management and complex investment strategies. Private asset management firms. It mainly provides investment management services for high net worth individuals and families, providing customized investment solutions, including stocks, bonds, real estate investments, hedge funds, etc. Private asset managers typically require a high investment threshold. Index funds vs. Passive investment companies. This type of asset manager focuses on providing clients with low-cost investment options through passive investment strategies such as index funds. They manage portfolios by replicating market indices and do not pursue active stock selection or market forecasting. A well-known example of an asset manager. BlackRock. BlackRock is one of the world's largest asset managers, with trillions of dollars in assets under management and a wide range of investment products, including stocks, bonds, ETFs, exchange-traded funds, and more. Vanguard. Vanguard Group is a well-known asset management company known for its low-cost index funds and ETFs. Its passive investment strategy attracts a large number of retail investors. Fidelity Investments. Fidelity Investments is a large asset management company that offers a variety of investment products and services, including retirement funds, mutual funds, stocks and bonds, and more. UBS Asset Management. UBS Asset Management is the asset management arm of UBS, a leading global financial services company in Switzerland, providing a full range of asset management services across equities, bonds, and alternative investments. Source: Wikipedia. Asset management companies, English, asset management companies, abbreviation, AMC. Any institution or organization that is mainly engaged in this type of business can be called an asset management company. 15. Vanguard Group Inc. Source: ChatGPT. Vanguard Group, Inc. is a leading global asset management company, known for its low-cost index funds and passive investment strategies. Founded in 1975 by John C. Bogle, Vanguard Group has become a major player in the global asset management landscape. Vanguard Group offers a wide range of investment products, including stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, ETFs, and more, and is committed to helping investors grow their wealth. Key features of the Vanguard Group. Pioneers of passive investing and index funds. One of Vanguard's most well-known innovations is the promotion of passive investment strategies, particularly through index funds. Traditional actively managed funds are selected by fund managers based on their own judgment and market analysis, while passively managed funds invest by replicating a market index, such as the S&P 500. Vanguard founder John Berger is a staunch supporter of index funds, arguing that actively managed funds often fail to beat market indices in the long run, and that index funds with low fees offer higher returns for investors. Low fee structure. Pioneer's commitment to keeping overheads low is one of the keys to its success. By reducing management fees, Vanguard is able to offer more competitive returns to investors. The advantage of the low fee structure has made Pioneer's investment products widely popular around the world. Vanguard's passively managed funds and index funds attract a large number of investors due to their low fees, especially in retail investors and pension fund management. Customer-oriented concept. Vanguard Group's business model is different from that of most asset managers. Vanguard exists as a mutual fund owner, meaning that the client is not only an investor, but also a part of the company. Vanguard Group's all fund companies use an owner structure to reduce management fees and pass their profits back on to investors. This structure is unique in the industry and reflects Pioneer Group's corporate philosophy of putting the interests of its customers first. Scale and global reach. As one of the world's largest asset managers, Vanguard currently manages more than $8 trillion in assets and offers a diverse range of investment products worldwide. Pioneer's portfolio includes a variety of asset classes such as stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, etc., covering different markets and sectors. Its scale of management makes Vanguard a significant force in global capital markets, with a profound impact on global investment trends, the fund industry and the stability of capital markets. Vanguard Group's main investment products. Index funds. Vanguard Group's index funds are designed to replicate the performance of a market index, such as the S&P 500, the Nasdaq Composite, etc. Index funds typically help investors achieve overall returns in the market with a low-fee, broadly diversified portfolio. Exchange-traded funds, ETFs. Vanguard also offers a variety of exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that can be traded on an exchange like stocks with relatively low fees. Vanguard's ETFs cover a wide range of markets and asset classes, catering to different investor needs. Mutual funds. In addition to index funds and ETFs, Vanguard Group also offers traditional mutual funds, which can be actively or passively managed. With mutual funds, investors can diversify their money across multiple stocks or bonds, reducing risk. Retirement accounts vs. Individual investment accounts. Vanguard Group provides individual investors with a variety of retirement account options, such as traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401k, etc., to help investors make tax-advantaged long-term investments. Vanguard also offers other types of individual investment accounts to suit the needs of different investors. Vanguard Group's investment philosophy. Long-term investment. Vanguard Group advocates long-term investment and emphasizes avoiding frequent trading and market timing. Holding investments for the long term allows investors to avoid short-term market fluctuations and benefit from the compounding effect. Low-cost and efficient management. Pioneer Group has always advocated a low-cost investment approach, and its core philosophy is low fees, high returns. High fees can erode investor returns in the long run, so reducing management fees is critical for investors. Diversification. Vanguard encourages investors to reduce risk through asset allocation and diversification. Portfolio diversification helps to cope with market volatility and ensures long-term stable growth of investments. Customer-centric. Vanguard's business model differs from many traditional asset managers in that its clients are not just investors, but owners of mutual funds. This structure ensures that the interests of the company are always aligned with those of the investors, avoiding conflicts between the motivation to maximize profits and the interests of the client. The history and development of the Vanguard Group. Background. The Vanguard Group was founded in 1975 by John Berger, one of the pioneers in the investment world. He revolutionized the asset management industry by promoting low-cost index funds, completely breaking the traditional high-fee model of actively managed funds. Historical innovations. John Berger is one of the founders of index funds, and he advocates investing by copying market indices, believing that in the long run, investors can achieve the overall return of the market through low-cost index funds. This innovative concept revolutionized the global asset management industry and established Vanguard Group as a leader in the industry. Achievements and impact. Vanguard Group has grown to become one of the world's largest asset managers through innovative investment ideas, low-cost management models and a client-first approach. Not only has it led the trend of low-cost investment, but it has also promoted the popularity of index funds and contributed to the transformation of global financial markets. Vanguard Group's challenges and prospects. Market competition. As one of the world's largest asset managers, Vanguard Group faces stiff competition from other large asset managers and fintech companies such as Robinhood, Wealthfront, etc. Especially when it comes to low-fee, passive investment strategies, Vanguard needs to constantly innovate and stay ahead of the curve. Market volatility. The majority of Vanguard's portfolio consists of equities and bonds, which makes it vulnerable to volatility in global financial markets. Although Vanguard has adopted a diversification strategy to reduce risk, market uncertainty remains a challenge. Technology and innovation. With the rise of fintech, Vanguard needed to leverage technology to improve efficiency and customer experience. Through innovative digital platforms and artificial intelligence technologies, Pioneer can further enhance its investment management capabilities and provide customers with more convenient investment services. Source: Wikipedia. The Vanguard Group, also known as the Vanguard Investment Group and Pioneer Group, founded by John Borg, is one of the largest fund management companies in the United States. Its VTI, VU, VEA, VTV, BND, VUG, and VWO are well-known investment targets. Founded in 1975, Vanguard Investments has historically been known for its indexed investment, index fund, and countercyclical investment style, issuing the world's first index fund tracking the underlying S&P 500 index. As of March 2015, Vanguard is the world's largest mutual fund and the second largest ETF provider. 16. BlackRock Inc. Source: ChatGPT. BlackRock, Inc. is one of the world's largest asset management companies, founded in 1988 and headquartered in New York City, USA. BlackRock focuses on investment management, risk management, and advisory services to individual, institutional, and government clients. With more than $9 trillion in assets under management, BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager and has significant influence in global capital markets. Key features of BlackRock. Global asset management leader. BlackRock manages more than $9 trillion in assets, making it the world's largest asset manager. It offers a wide range of investment products and services to investors around the world, covering a wide range of asset classes such as stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, private equity, and more. Diversified investment products and services. BlackRock's investment products include mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, ETFs, pension funds, hedge funds, fixed income products, and more, which are suitable for a variety of investor needs. One of BlackRock's well-known fund families is iShares ETFs, which help investors gain low-cost access to global markets, particularly in equity and bond markets. ESG investing, environmental, social and governance. BlackRock has strengthened its focus on sustainable investing in recent years, particularly in environmental, social and governance, ESG, areas. BlackRock believes that ESG factors have a significant impact on long-term investment returns, and is therefore driving its portfolio to be more sustainable in terms of environmental protection, social responsibility, and corporate governance. Risk management and technological innovation. BlackRock is more than just an asset management company, it also provides clients with advanced risk management and investment analysis tools. BlackRock's investment platform includes Aladdin, Assets, Liabilities, Risk Analysis, and Data Platform, which is a comprehensive investment management system independently developed by BlackRock to help clients make decisions in asset allocation, risk assessment, investment analysis, and other aspects. Customer base. BlackRock's clients include institutional investors, e.g., pension funds, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, etc., retail investors, e.g., individual investors, government agencies, and other financial institutions. BlackRock provides these clients with customized investment strategies and solutions to help them grow their wealth and protect their assets. BlackRock's business areas. Asset management. BlackRock's core business is asset management, providing investors with a wide range of funds and investment products, and managing portfolios from clients around the world. Its investment scope covers a wide range of sectors, including equities, bonds, real estate, and private equity, with the aim of helping clients achieve long-term capital appreciation. ETFs, exchange-traded funds. BlackRock's iShares brand is a major player in the global ETF market. iShares ETF has a wide range of products, including ETFs in different sectors such as stocks, bonds, commodities, regional markets, etc. Through ETFs, BlackRock provides investors with a low-cost, highly liquid investment vehicle that provides investors with convenient access to diversified market exposure. Risk management and advisory services. BlackRock provides high-end risk management and investment advisory services to institutional investors. Through the Aladdin platform, BlackRock helps clients assess and manage risk and optimize their portfolios. BlackRock's consulting services involve asset allocation, investment strategy, market trend analysis, etc., to provide customized solutions for customers. Sustainable investment and ESG strategy. BlackRock advocates for sustainable investing and integrates ESG factors into its investment decision-making process. BlackRock is committed to helping clients understand and apply sustainable investment strategies to achieve the dual goals of return on capital and social value. BlackRock's focus on corporate governance, environmental protection, and social responsibility has become part of its strategy. Private wealth management. BlackRock also provides private wealth management services to high-net-worth individuals, helping them with asset allocation, tax planning, estate planning, and more. BlackRock meets the needs of these clients in terms of wealth growth and protection through its customized investment solutions. BlackRock's innovation and technology. Aladdin platform. BlackRock's Aladdin platform is the world's leading investment management system, helping BlackRock and its clients with asset allocation, risk assessment, investment analysis, and other decision support. The Aladdin platform combines data analytics, risk management, portfolio management, and other functions to provide solutions for many financial institutions around the world. Artificial intelligence and data analytics. BlackRock actively leverages artificial intelligence, AI, and big data analytics in investment decision-making and risk management. These technologies help BlackRock dig deeper into market trends, optimize investment decisions, and improve portfolio management efficiency. Technology-driven investment management. BlackRock's technological innovation is not limited to the Aladdin platform, but also includes other digital tools and services designed to improve asset management efficiency, simplify the investment experience for investors, and help them achieve higher investment returns. BlackRock's core investment philosophy. Long-term investment. BlackRock advocates the concept of long-term investment, believing that holding long-term high-quality assets can achieve stable returns in the long run. BlackRock's investment strategies typically focus on capital appreciation rather than short-term volatility. Low-fee structure. BlackRock is committed to creating value for investors through a low-fee structure, particularly in the ETF market. By providing low-cost investment vehicles, BlackRock hopes to enable a wide range of investors to achieve more competitive returns. Global perspective and diversification. BlackRock's portfolio spans global markets, helping investors diversify geographically and across asset classes, reducing risk and increasing return potential. Its extensive international presence allows it to respond flexibly to changes in the global market. ESG and sustainable investment. BlackRock focuses on the role of environmental, social and governance, ESG, factors in investing. BlackRock believes that sustainable investing is not only socially responsible, but also delivers good returns for investors in the long run. BlackRock actively promotes sustainability across all investment strategies and promotes the application of ESG investment concepts globally. History and development of BlackRock. Background. BlackRock was founded in 1988 as a fixed-income asset manager. One of its founders is Lawrence D. Fink, who is still BlackRock's CEO. BlackRock initially focused on fixed income management, but as the market grew, it gradually expanded its scope to cover a variety of sectors such as equities, private equity, real estate, and more. Expansions and acquisitions. BlackRock has expanded its asset management scale and market share through a series of acquisitions. For example, in 2009, BlackRock acquired Barclays Global Investors, which gave it a leading position in the global ETF market. Global development. BlackRock's business covers many countries and regions around the world, including the United States, Europe, Asia, Latin America, etc. It not only dominates in developed markets, but also has an extensive presence in emerging markets in developing countries. BlackRock's challenges and prospects. Market competition. BlackRock faces competition from other large asset managers, particularly in the low-cost ETF market and in the sustainable investing space. With the rapid development of fintech, BlackRock is also facing challenges from emerging competitors, such as companies that offer low-cost investment management services through digital platforms. Market volatility. BlackRock manages a wide range of assets and covers global markets, so it has to deal with the volatility and uncertainty of global markets. Despite BlackRock's diversification strategy, changes in the global economy and financial markets could still affect the performance of its portfolio. Impact of sustainable investing. As ESG investing gains traction, BlackRock needs to continue to drive the application of its ESG investment strategy while addressing the discussion and challenges around sustainable investment returns. Source: Wikipedia. BlackRock Inc. NYSE, BLK, is an American investment management company headquartered in New York City, with 70 offices in 30 countries and clients in 100 countries. The main business is to provide investment management, risk management, and financial advisory services for corporate and retail channels. Its well-known funds include BlackRock Global Asset Allocation Fund, BlackRock World Mining Fund, BlackRock Latin America Fund, BlackRock Emerging Europe Fund, BlackRock World Energy Fund and BlackRock New Energy Fund. Today, BlackRock employs 18,400 people and collectively manages $8.59 trillion in assets across equities, fixed income, cash management, alternative investments, and real estate advisory strategies. 17. State Street Corporation. Source: ChatGPT. State Street Corporation is one of the world's leading financial services companies, founded in 1792 and headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. As the world's largest provider of asset management, custodian banking, and financial services, State Street provides a wide range of services to investors, institutions, governments, and corporations around the world, covering investment management, investment services, asset custody, fund management, and other fields. Key features of State Street Group. Global leader in asset custody. State Street is one of the world's largest asset custodian banks, providing custodian services to institutional investors, e.g., pension funds, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, etc., to ensure that their assets are safe, transparent, and compliant with regulatory requirements. State Street's asset custody services include asset custody, liquidation, accounting, portfolio evaluation, statement generation, etc., to help clients manage and monitor the operation of their assets. Asset management business. State Street, through its subsidiary, State Street Global Advisors, SSGA, provides asset management services with trillions of dollars in assets under management, spanning equities, bonds, alternative investments, and more. State Street's investment products include index funds, actively managed funds, exchange-traded funds, ETFs, etc., which are widely available to institutional and retail investors. Technology-driven investment management. State Street Corporation's strong adoption of fintech and data analytics in its financial services provides innovative solutions to its clients. For example, through the State Street Alpha platform, State Street provides clients with integrated digital services such as asset management, risk management, investment analysis, and compliance monitoring. State Street's technological innovations have strengthened its competitiveness in the financial markets, improving the efficiency of its business operations and customer experience. Sustainable investing and ESG. State Street actively promotes ESG, environmental, social, governance, investment strategies and asset management and promotes the application of sustainable investment concepts. State Street helps clients make investment decisions that align with social responsibility and long-term return goals through ESG screening and assessment. Through its global investment management platform, SSGA, State Street provides ESG investment products and advisory services to institutional clients, supporting them in integrating the SDGs into their investment strategies. State Street Group's business areas. Asset custody and management services. One of State Street's core businesses is asset custody services for global investors. This includes providing institutional clients with support in asset custody, liquidation, accounting, administration, and more. Through these services, institutional clients can ensure that their portfolios are operating efficiently, compliantly, and transparently. Asset management, SSGA. State Street's asset management business is handled by State Street Global Advisors, SSGA, one of the world's leading asset managers. SSGA offers a variety of asset management services, including actively and passively managed portfolios of stocks, bonds, and other asset classes, covering the diverse needs of institutional and retail investors. Exchange-traded funds, ETFs. State Street has a significant presence in the ETF market through SPDR ETFs, Standard & Poor's Depository Receipts. The SPDR series is one of the most well-known and most traded ETF products in the world. Through these ETFs, investors can gain market exposure to a variety of asset classes at a low cost. Risk management and investment advisory. State Street provides risk management and investment advisory services to institutional investors, helping clients optimize their portfolios, assess risks, and develop investment strategies. Through technology platforms and data analytics, clients can monitor portfolio performance in real time and make timely adjustments based on market changes. Global markets and investment banking. In addition to asset management and custody services, State Street also provides other financial services, such as money management, foreign exchange trading, securities lending, financing, etc. State Street provides these services in multiple markets around the world, helping clients manage cross-border asset and capital flows. Technology and innovation from State Street. State Street Alpha. State Street Alpha is an innovative platform from State Street that integrates asset management, risk management, and compliance on a single platform. The Alpha platform helps clients efficiently manage portfolios across multiple asset classes and improve decision-making through big data analytics and real-time information flows. The platform not only supports the investment management process, but also provides enhanced risk analysis and compliance monitoring capabilities to help clients manage assets effectively in complex market environments. Applications of fintech. State Street's innovation in fintech is reflected in its use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation, and big data analytics to optimize business processes and enhance customer experience. These technologies are widely used in asset management, risk management, data processing, and customer service, further enhancing State Street's competitiveness in the financial services industry. Blockchain technology. State Street Group has also made progress in the exploration of blockchain technology. While the adoption of blockchain technology in the financial industry is still in its infancy, State Street has begun to study how blockchain can be used to improve the efficiency, transparency, and security of financial services, especially in securities clearing, payments, and cross-border transactions. State Street's core investment philosophy. Long-term value investing. State Street's investment philosophy emphasizes long-term value investing, believing that investors can achieve solid capital appreciation by continuing to focus on high-quality assets. State Street's asset management services focus not only on short-term returns, but also on long-term sustainable growth. Low cost and efficiency. State Street Corporations advocates low-cost investment, especially in passive management, and offers low-cost investment solutions through investment vehicles such as ETFs, allowing investors to gain broad market exposure at a lower cost. Sustainable investing. State Street promotes sustainable investment strategies and emphasizes the integration of environmental, social and governance, ESG, factors into investment decisions. By applying ESG criteria to investment management, State Street helps clients make more socially responsible investments and improve long-term investment returns. The history and development of State Street Group. Background. State Street Group's history dates back to 1792 as a Boston-based bank focused on banking and custody services for local customers. Over time, State Street expanded its business to become one of the world's leading financial services companies. International development. State Street Corporation has established an extensive global network and has offices in many countries and regions. Through the continuous expansion of its international business, State Street has become a key player in the global capital markets. Acquisitions and expansions. State Street continues to expand its services through a series of acquisitions, particularly in the asset management and ETF sectors. In particular, State Street has further strengthened its leadership position in the financial industry with the acquisition of investment management companies, asset custody companies and other related businesses. State Street's challenges and prospects. Market competition. State Street faces stiff competition from other large asset managers and financial services institutions, particularly in the ETF and custodian services sectors. With the rapid development of fintech, emerging companies are also challenging traditional financial services companies. Technological change. While State Street has made some progress in the adoption of fintech, it remains a challenge to keep technology innovative and efficient as technology continues to evolve. State Street needed to continuously upgrade its technology platform to meet future market needs. Challenges of sustainable investing. Despite State Street's push in the sustainable investing space, the criteria and methodology for ESG investing are constantly evolving. State Street needs to continue to optimize its ESG investment strategy and meet the growing number of clients' concerns about social responsibility and environmental protection. Source: Wikipedia. State Street Corporation is an American financial company headquartered at 1 Lincoln Street in Boston. The company's predecessor, Union Bank, was founded in 1792. State Street is the second oldest surviving U.S. bank and ranks 15th among U.S. banks in terms of total assets. State Street is one of the world's largest asset managers and the world's second largest fund custodian bank, offering a full range of securities services. In 2021, State Street ranked 252nd on the Fortune 500 list. 18. Monopolize the market. Source: ChatGPT. Monopoly market refers to a market in which a single enterprise or a few companies control most or all of the market share, thereby controlling the supply of goods or services. A striking feature of monopolistic markets is the lack of effective competition, which allows monopolists to independently determine prices, output, and product quality, while consumers often lack choice. Characteristics of a monopoly market. Single supplier. In a typical monopoly market, only one company or organization dominates the market, and this company usually has exclusive rights to a certain good or service, and consumers can only rely on this enterprise to provide the desired product or service. Market entry barriers. Monopoly markets usually have high barriers to entry, which may be due to factors such as technology patents, capital needs, legal and regulatory restrictions, and resource control, which make it impossible for new competitors to enter the market and compete with monopolists. Price control. With no other competitors, monopolists are usually able to control prices and are not under pressure from changes in market supply and demand. In some cases, monopolists may sell products or services at a higher price, and consumers often struggle to find alternatives. Lack of innovation. In a monopoly market, monopolies may lack the incentive to drive innovation due to a lack of competition. No other company is pressuring them to improve product quality or technology, which can lead to slow product updates and stagnation in quality. Limited user choices. Due to the high concentration of the market, consumers often have few choices. Even when consumers are not satisfied with the quality of a product or service, they often struggle to find alternatives from other competitors. Long-term high profits. Monopolists tend to be able to maintain high profits in the absence of competition because they control supply and prices and can maximize profits by manipulating the market. Types of monopolies. Natural monopoly. Natural monopolies usually occur in certain industries, especially those with high fixed costs or initial investment needs, such as hydropower, rail transportation, public transportation, etc. Due to the economies of scale in these industries, only one provider can provide services efficiently, while multiple competitors can lead to excessive costs or wasted resources. Government-granted monopoly. This type of monopoly is the right granted by the government to a company to monopolize the market, usually for some policy or public interest reasons. For example, certain patents, copyrights, brand protection, etc., can enable a company to have exclusive rights to a specific product for a specified period of time. Geographical monopoly. Geographic monopoly occurs in a specific region, where one company controls the entire market in that area, and other companies cannot enter effectively due to distance, cost, etc. It usually occurs in more remote areas with less market demand or poor infrastructure. Technological monopoly. A technology monopoly occurs when a certain enterprise has a unique technology or patent and can independently produce and sell a certain product or service for a certain period of time. Technology monopolies can maintain market share through patent protection for innovations until the patent expires or the technology is overtaken. Advantages and disadvantages of monopolizing the market. Merit. Economies of scale. Monopolies are often able to reduce production costs through economies of scale, thereby providing consumers with lower prices, especially in natural monopoly industries such as utilities and infrastructure. Long-term investment and stability. Monopolies are able to achieve long-term and stable profits, which in turn can make large-scale investments to promote technological innovation and product development. In some cases, monopolists are able to afford to invest in larger infrastructure or R&D, which is critical to the development of certain industries. Coordination and planning. Suppliers in a monopoly market can be coordinated through unified management and operation, avoiding the waste of resources that may result from excessive competition. In some industries, centralized management may help ensure efficient allocation of resources. Shortcoming. Price manipulation. The monopolist can set the price at will, there is no competitive pressure, and the price may be much higher than the competitive level in the market. Consumers have no bargaining power in such a market and can only accept prices set by monopolists. Lack of innovation. Monopolists may lack competitive pressure, leading to a lack of incentive to innovate products and improve services. This can deprive consumers of high-quality new products or improved technology. Inefficient resource allocation. In the absence of competition, monopolies may adopt inefficient production methods because there are no external competitors to force them to be more efficient. This can lead to wasted resources or inflexible operations. Market exit barriers. When consumers or other market participants are dissatisfied, there is often a lack of adequate exit or alternative options, which affects the fairness and efficiency of the market. Source: Wikipedia. Monopolistic competition, English, monopolistic competition, also known as monopolistic competition, is one of the forms of imperfect competition, market. It was first proposed by American economist Edward Chamberlain in his 1933 book Theory of Monopolistic Competition. In an exclusive competitive market, there are many vendor-suppliers, similar to a perfectly competitive market, where no single vendor can monopolize the market. However, it differs from perfectly competitive markets in that in this form many manufacturers make products that are somewhat differentiated from others, i.e., although the products of these companies are substituted for each other, they are still different from each other, for example, in terms of brand and quality. In the short term, a manufacturer that is in exclusive competition is like an exclusive company, and can use part of the monopoly market power to increase the selling price to obtain relatively high profits. However, in the long run, due to the continuous entry of competitors, the differentiation advantage of products is gradually reduced due to competition, and the market slowly becomes similar to perfect competition, and manufacturers can no longer obtain too much economic benefits. But until then, companies that compete exclusively have usually reserved some of their capacity. Industries often cited in textbooks include restaurants, processed cereals, clothing, footwear, and services in metropolitan areas. Therefore, exclusive competition has the following characteristics. There are many producers and consumers in the market, so no manufacturer has full pricing power. Consumers have clear preferences, goods and services are non-homogeneous, and therefore suppliers still have some market search power or price setter, and suppliers can freely enter or leave the market, which means that there are few barriers to entering or leaving, and the market is not fully informed. Although in the long run, the competition in the exclusive market will gradually approach perfect competition. However, firms that compete exclusively in the market are exclusive in the short term, and manufacturers use non-price competition to compete with competitors who produce similar products in the market. Non-price competition means include advertising, packaging, branding, design and premiums. Since consumers have brand loyalty, manufacturers will not lose all their customers even if they raise the price. It is worth noting that although exclusive competition has always been a topic of market and competition in individual economics, it has been increasingly used by general economists, especially since the 1970s, when the trend of modeling focusing on micro foundations has been emphasized. 19. Trump's tactics to dismantle the deep layers of government. Source: ChatGPT. Trump's response to the dismantling of the deep state refers to Donald Trump's attempts to weaken or transform the institutions within the U.S. government, the network of political elites, and the forces of the deep state that are perceived to be far-reaching during his presidency of the United States. Trump and his supporters often believe that the so-called deep state is made up of a small group of elites, bureaucrats, multinational corporations, and special interests who manipulate political, economic, and social affairs behind the scenes to the detriment of ordinary Americans. Trump's anti-deep government tactics can be understood in the following ways. 1. Reduce the power and size of government bureaucracy. During his campaign and presidency, Trump set the goal of reducing the size of the federal government. He argues that the U.S. government's vast bureaucracy often leads to corruption, inefficiency, and abuse of power. He advocated outsourcing government functions or leaving them to the private sector, reducing government intervention and market control. For example, he adopted policies to cut government spending and pushed for layoffs in government departments, especially those he considered inefficient. 2. Oppose globalism and transnational blocs. Trump's policies are at odds with the interests of the globalists and multinational corporations in the deep state. Trump has advocated an America First policy, emphasizing the need to protect U.S. economic interests, reduce foreign aid and participate in international agreements, especially against multinational cooperation agreements like the Paris Climate Agreement and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. His antipathy to international organizations and globalization was reflected in his withdrawal from or his more self-interested stance on international agreements that he considered to be detrimental to the interests of the United States. 3. Weaken media and information control. Trump often accuses the U.S. mainstream media, such as CNN, the New York Times, etc., of being fake news and believes that these media are part of the deep state, promoting the agenda of certain interest groups. He criticized the media for favoring political elites, creating false impressions and misleading the public. Through social media, especially Twitter, he bypassed traditional media and communicated directly with voters in an attempt to control the flow of information and convey political views to supporters that differ from the media narrative. 4. Reshape the federal judiciary and administration. During his tenure, Trump made a series of important appointments to federal courts, notably Supreme Court judges. His successful nomination of 3 conservative justices changed the political leaning of the Supreme Court, which was seen as a major blow to the deep state, as the justice system is often considered a core area of deep state control. In addition, Trump has pushed through reforms of several federal government agencies in an attempt to reduce their influence. For example, he has sought to curtail or restructure government agencies such as the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, which are often seen as part of the deep state and represent certain special interests. 5. Oppose cross-party coalitions. Trump has been critical of the close cooperation between traditional politicians and political parties, especially the deep political relationship between the two parties. He argues that there is an exchange of interests and compromises between Republicans and Democrats, and that this complicity weakens the voice of voters and leads to corruption in the political system. Trump's distrust of political elites is reflected in his anti-establishment stance, especially during the election campaign, when he shaped the opposition between the American people and the political elite by violently attacking traditional political figures such as Hillary Clinton, George W. Bush, etc. 6. Adopt executive orders and revoke Obama policies. In the early days of his presidency, Trump passed a series of executive orders that quickly reversed some of the Obama administration's policies, particularly in the areas of environmental protection, immigration, and public health. This approach is seen as a challenge to some of the interests of the deep state, such as the environmental movement, immigration reform advocates, etc. For example, he withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement by executive order, reversed Obamacare, and adopted a strict immigration policy. These measures directly challenge policies driven by the government and other elite groups. 7. Strengthen nationalism and patriotism. Trump's America First policy reflects his strong antipathy to the idea of globalism in the deep state. He argues that many decision-makers in the deep state favor globalization and transnationalism, ignoring the needs of the American people. His nationalist policies focused on protecting the U.S. economy and borders and limiting external influences, especially in economic and immigration policies, reinforcing domestic policy priorities. 8. Challenge intelligence agencies and the military industry. Trump's relationship with the U.S. intelligence community and the military-industrial complex is strained, especially in the Russiagate investigation following the 2016 election. Trump sees these agencies as part of opposition to his administration and has repeatedly publicly criticized intelligence agencies. In addition, his criticism of the military industry is prominent, arguing that the excessive involvement of the United States in foreign wars has led to huge military expenditures and a waste of American resources. He proposed reducing military intervention and focusing on domestic security in the United States. 9. Fight against the swamps. Mr. Trump often refers to drain the swamp, a slogan he used during his campaign to purge Washington of corruption and interests, especially those within the government who profit from lobbying, money and power exchanges. During his tenure, he tried to advance this goal by increasing government transparency and reducing the politician component in government departments. While there have been many challenges to this effort, it has always been an important part of his campaign and governing philosophy. Source: Zhuheng.com. This is my plan to dismantle the deep state, to take back our democracy from the corruption in Washington, and to put an end to corruption once and for all. First, I'm going to get to work on it right away, and I'm going to immediately re-sign the 2020 executive order to restore the president's power to purge unscrupulous bureaucrats, and I'm going to enforce that power very strongly. Second, we will purge the national security and intelligence apparatus of all the corrupt elements, and there are quite a few of them, and those departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be overhauled to ensure that anonymous bureaucrats can no longer target and persecute political enemies of conservatives, Christians, or the left, who are now persecuted to an incredible extent. Third, we're going to overhaul the U.S. Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, FISA, which is so corrupt that judges don't seem to care when they are deceived in search warrant applications, and many judges have seen many problematic applications that they know are in error, or at least should have known, but did nothing, and they were deceived. Fourth, to expose the scams and abuses of power that have torn our country apart, we will set up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all the dossiers on deep state surveillance, censorship, and corruption, and there are many of them. Fifth, we will launch a massive crackdown on government whistleblowers who collude with fake news, deliberately fabricate false statements, and try to subvert our government and democracy, and where possible, we will file criminal charges. Sixth, we will make each Inspector General's office operate independently and physically separate from the departments it oversees to prevent them from becoming the umbrella of the deep state. Seventh, I'm going to ask Congress to set up an independent auditing system to continuously monitor our intelligence agencies to make sure they don't spy on our citizens or disinformation about the American people, or that they don't spy on other people's campaigns as they once did. Eighth, we will continue the Trump administration's efforts to move parts of the vast federal bureaucracy out of the swamps in Washington and into new locations. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, up to 100,000 government jobs could be immediately moved out of Washington and into places full of patriots who truly love America. Ninth, I'm going to work to prohibit federal officials from leaving office to serve in the companies that they deal with and oversee, that they do business with those companies, that they regulate those companies, and then that they want to take positions from those companies. That is not desirable, and that this kind of openness cannot continue, but it happens all the time, like in Big Pharma. Finally, I will push for a constitutional amendment that sets a time limit for members of Congress. This is how I break down the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people, and I love you, Trump. Particularly. American Mystery, Secret Incident. Source: ChatGPT. American Mysteries, Secret Events, refer to secret events that have occurred in American history that have not been fully solved, are full of controversy, or are hidden behind them. These incidents usually involve government, military, intelligence agencies, or some deep state operations, and due to their sensitivity, some information has not been fully disclosed to date, or is considered to be a deep state operation or cover-up operation. Here are some of the well-known American mysteries that involve covered operations, unsolved mysteries, or events that are considered to be of a significant secretive nature. 1. Watergate Scandal. Background: in 1972, 5 Republican members attempted to break into the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee, DNC, and steal documents. The investigation found that the incident was linked to President Richard Nixon and his top aides. Mystery: Watergate ultimately uncovers the involvement of Nixon and his administration in multiple political conspiracies, such as wiretapping, cover-ups, and abuses of power. Nixon resigned for his cover-up in the incident, but many questions remain unanswered, such as why Nixon took such extreme measures and what was specifically manipulated behind the scenes. 2. JFK Assassination. Background: on November 22, 1963, U.S. President John H. F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Lee Harvey Oswald was charged as the sole suspect. Enigma: despite the conclusion of an official investigation that a single shooter was involved, there are still many who suspect that there may have been more sophisticated forces and organizations behind JFK's assassination. Some theories suggest that the deep state, the CIA, the military-industrial complex, and even gangsters may have been involved in the case. To this day, the case has not been fully revealed. 3.9/11 Attacks. Background: on September 11, 2001, Al-Qaeda members hijacked 4 civilian aircraft and carried out terrorist attacks on iconic buildings in the United States, including the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, WTC, and the Pentagon. Mystery: while official investigations suggest that Al-Qaeda planned and carried out the incident, many have questioned the involvement or internal and external collusion of other forces behind the attack. Questions such as the cause of the collapse of the World Trade Tower, the trajectory of the planes, and the government's foreknowledge of the extent of the attack have formed the basis for many conspiracy theories. 4. UFOs in Area 51. Background: the United States has a long history of unidentified flying object, UFO, sightings and secret research involving extraterrestrial life. The most famous event was the 1947 Roswell incident, after which Area 51 became a place of great interest, and many believe that it was a base for the US military to secretly study extraterrestrial technology. Mystery. Although the US government has denied contact with extraterrestrial beings on several occasions, conspiracy theorists believe that Area 51 is hiding a large number of extraterrestrial technologies and alien remains. Some of the documents that have been leaked suggest that the government is indeed trying to cover up the truth about UFOs, causing the issue to be in the public spotlight. 5 MK-Ultra Program. Background: MK-Ultra was a secret experimental program conducted by the CIA in the 1950s and 1970s to research and develop the application of mind control techniques, brainwashing, and drug control, such as LSD, in espionage. Enigma. After the program came to light in the 1970s, it attracted a lot of attention, with many victims claiming that they had been involved in experiments without consent. Although the government has investigated and offered compensation to some of the victims, MK-Ultra's full dossier and the details of the experiment have not been fully disclosed, and many details of the experiment remain considered classified. 6. Manhattan Project. Background: during World War II, Project Skyline was a secret U.S. research and development project with the goal of developing an atomic bomb. This program, led by the U.S. government and involving a large number of scientists and engineers, culminated in the successful development of the atomic bomb. Mystery. While the existence and final outcome of Project Skyline is public, many details of the program remain confidential, including some internal questions about the participants and experiments. In particular, some of the historical details of the political and moral debates that followed the use of the atomic bomb remain controversial. 7. The Templar Treasure. Background: Talmachit is a legend about the medieval mystical organization known as the Knights Templar. Rumor has it that the Knights Templar hid a large amount of wealth and secret documents after being disbanded, which has remained undiscovered to this day. Mystery. Theories about the wealth of the temple are deeply rooted in various secret societies and conspiracy theories. Although historians and archaeologists have attempted to unravel these mysteries, to date, conclusive evidence of the Templar wealth has remained unfounded. 8. The FBI's relationship with the gangsters. Background: historically, the relationship between the FBI and gangsters in the United States has been a mystery. In certain periods, the FBI was believed to have had some degree of cooperation or tacit understanding with the gangsters in certain cases. Mysteries, in particular, the early actions of the FBI, as to whether some corrupt FBI members had some sort of collusion with the gangs, or tolerance of the gangs at certain times, remains many unsolved mysteries. 9. Extreme Weather Weapons Experiment, HARP. Background: HARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, is a U.S. military research program that studies the atmosphere and auroral phenomena, but many believe that the project involves the development of extreme weather weapons capable of manipulating weather changes and natural disasters. Mystery. While official statements state that the purpose of the HARP project is primarily scientific research, there are also conspiracy theories that HARP can be used as a tool to control the climate, trigger earthquakes, and other natural disasters. Part of the data and experimental results of the project remain unpublished, which fuels all sorts of speculation about its true purpose. 10. CIA's Domestic Surveillance and Control, COINTELPRO. Background: COINTELPRO was a covert operation conducted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, from the 1950s to the 1970s to spy, infiltrate, and disrupt civil rights organizations, anti-war movements, socialists, and other groups deemed disloyal to the government. Mystery. Although COINTELPRO was exposed and stopped in the 1970s, the histories of many of its victims remain unfully disclosed, and details about how the government systematically undermined political dissent remain incomplete. Conclusion. Light and darkness, identity and opposition. Leave it to time to prove what is right and wrong. Pit/coming soon. American Enigma, member video.